in Relief Rally Super Sprint. That form's been polished. She didn't hit that level on the softer ground over 5 at Goodwood. I think she's highly likely to go forward here, but this is a big chasing pack, and I wonder if she'll be at her very best over this extra furlong.
Okay, moving on now to horse number 9, Dragon Leader, who is 2 from 2 thus far. Still not a particularly great figure has been recorded in either those 2 wins, and only just scraped home last time when a 5-6 favourite at Salisbury.
He did, but it's Ryan Moore, Clive Cook's 2 out of 2. First time out, he took a good while to engage top gear. He was sharper. More professional second time out, but he only won by a nose. He didn't make a big step forward in form terms. 2 wins, seductive. He ought to run his race, but I didn't quite squeeze him into my numbers. Don't know about you.
No, he's not in my numbers either. But there are a lot of candidates in this race, and 1 or 2 at big prices as well. I think we might come to them a little bit later. Horse number 15 is Persica, who did win very nicely, certainly from a visual perspective, at Salisbury back on the 16th of August. Again, from a time perspective, it was nothing out of the ordinary, but it was a big step up on the first run at Leicester.
Cost 200 grand by an excellent stallion in New Bay, and a bit of old school training here from Richard Hannon Jr., who sent this horse to the races first time. He was coltish and green, missed the break and did not show much. Richard said, that's not good enough. You can go out again 3 days later. And he was a much sharper model at Salisbury second time. He did miss the break, but he soon recovered, and he won emphatically. The problem was, John, I think 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th were all newcomers, so it's not easy to get a handle on what he achieved. Stable have done well in this race, and the owner has done well in this race. Mums Tipple won this race by a mile a few years ago. Speaking
of the owner, we've got the same colours, the red distinguishing cap for Gaydon, who, again, if you go back far enough, actually has got some Relief Rally form and a good run here at York at the Dante meeting.
Yeah, I've seen Gaydon tipped up at big prices in a few bits of the British media, but you know what I'm like, John. I'm not one for forgiving moderate runs unless I can find an obvious reason. And maybe at Ascot it was just too much of an occasion, but either way, Gaydon didn't run much of a race. And on the softish surface at Goodwood, I thought she ran a bad race in that nursery won by Serrid Rank. So she has a bit to prove as far as I'm concerned. There has been money, but it's not mine.
She has hit a speed figure, which is more or less what you need to win this race. That is something positive in her favour. Right, this is Ziggy's Condor, who, again, a lot of horses about whom this can be said. A winner. But again, it wasn't necessarily particularly great form when taken completely at face value.
No, but there was style about it. And I've read Richard Fahey's comments about this horse, and they're fairly neutral. That, you know, he won really well. I'm not sure how deep a race it was. All the usual sort of fairly guarded stuff. But he did win it with some swagger and some style. And so I've got to put him in my numbers here. It's a good while now since Richard won this with Wotton Bassett. Group 1 winner later on, and a hugely successful stallion now. Not sure what to make of Ziggy's Condor, but not too many of these, John, have really flashed stakes race potential. Maybe he has at Pontefract.
We'll see. Horse number 7 is Ambushed, who, well, I caught quite a few of these. Didn't do a huge amount on debut, though behind the relatively smart Barnwell boy who put in a good performance that day at Goodwood. Then came out and beat a certain Ballymount boy, Newcastle, on second run.
Yeah, he didn't show much first time, beaten a long way, but he had cheap pieces the second time at Newcastle. He was much sharper, got the better of Ballymount boy, who's plainly polished the form since. Archie Watson, very good trainer, full stop, especially with 2-year-olds though. So he's on the upgrade, not in my numbers, but I do think he ought to run his race here. Cheap pieces obviously suit him. Yeah,
that race at Newcastle was very much a sit sprint though. This is unlikely to be a sit sprint.
No, absolutely not.
So that's a definite question mark as far as Ambushed is concerned. Horse number 5 is We Never Stop, bringing that Twilight Romance form. Of course, they've got very well acquainted, these two already. There's only £2 separating them on official ratings, and it's £2 separating them in terms of the weight they've got to carry here.
Yes, but Twilight Romance has a £6 pull for the Pontefract form, and I prefer to look at the York performance when they clashed, and Twilight Romance just looked a better horse. £6 pull tilts the scales in terms of Twilight Romance for me, but if you like one, you probably need to respect the other. I do respect him. Kevin Ryan, a couple of runners here, and We Never Stop has already shown a rating of 87, better than most in this field.
Horse number 1 is Angel of England, and this was a winner last time out at Nottingham, beating a horse called Grey Cuban in the process. And again, from start 1 to start 2 to start 3, the curve is an upward one, Graham.
Yeah, he's progressive all right. I think he's quite speedy as well. He locks horns with his old rival Grey Cuban here. I think he's probably a better horse than Grey Cuban. He showed easygoing speed to win that Nottingham race. Grey Cuban got caught flat-footed and then stayed on late. One of the problems here is that having won that Class 2 race at Nottingham, John, picks up a fair penalty, Angel of England. So he's giving £5 to some tidy colts here, and he needs to be very progressive in order to do that. Yeah,
the weight horses carrying this race is determined by the price it took at auction, but there are penalties on top of that as well. So this is Love Billy Boy.
Yeah,
next one,
he's just got a mark of 79 as well, Angel of England, which with the penalty means he's got a bit to do. Number 3, Love Billy Boy, not for me. He did win first time out. He was sent all the way up from the south of England to Musselburgh, near Edinburgh, to get off the mark at the first attempt. That was a promising enough start, but then he went to Sandown for a listed race and he was blown away pretty much from start to finish. Pretty lengthy break since. Hannon always well represented in this race. He doesn't look the first string today.
Okay, that's horse number 3, Love Billy Boy. Moving on to horse number 8 now by Bendham, who's had 2 runs, third at Yarmouth on debut, and then a decent effort when beating 12 other rivals, or 11 other rivals apart from Media Shooter at Wolverhampton on the all-weather last time over 6.
Yeah, he's got ability. I wonder if he's might be still a bit green, John, because he ran well at Wolverhampton, but he didn't run quite as straight as Media Shooter, and at a tight finish, that's seemed to make the difference. So he needs to keep improving. 2 grooms there. Sorry, I don't know the name of the chap on the left, but he's led up some really, really good horses for the Gosdens over the years.
All right, okay, well, maybe that's a tip in itself. This is horse number 11, Land Lover, who's had the 5 runs now, still to win, and would probably have to improve to win. There's just a rating of 78.
Absolutely. Bookies would be delighted if they could get a horse like this over the line first. I don't think there'll be much love for him in the market. And 5 runs, he seems reasonably well exposed. He's been running okay in novice events, but not well enough to suggest he can trouble the best of this lot.
That's horse number 11, Land Lover. This is number 2. This is what I like at a big price. Hackman, obviously very exposed, but some of the form has been perfectly decent. Third behind Elite Status at Sandown. If he hadn't run subsequently, he'd be more or less favoured for this on that form. Was well beaten by Big Evs at Goodwood, but a lot were.
It all comes back to me now. Tony Proctor. Thank you, Nick Child in Hong Kong. He knows everyone and everything. Tony Proctor has been a very high-profile cog in the Gosden wheel for a long time. Hackman, yeah, you've made the case for him. Early on, he looked a really promising horse, didn't he? Didn't go his way last time, but it was testing ground at Goodwood.
Yep, so I like him. He's a huge price. He's far too big here in the UK. Horse number 10 is Grey Cuban. We've talked about this one vis-a-vis Angel of England and that form. So again, if Angel of England's got to find a bit, this one probably has to as well.
I think so, and I think he has a slightly different run style than Angel of England, who seemed to travel really well through the Nottingham race. This fella did his best work late, but that 100-yard spell when he got caught flat-footed just cost him that day, and he cannot afford to have a similar flat spot today. That is the problem for him, Grey Cuban.
Okay, that was horse number 10. James Doll, another Hugo Palmer runner. Hugo Palmer, of course, also sending out Hackman. Right, this is horse number 13. This is Media Shooter. We talked about this one earlier on as well in the Bronte partnership colours. Partnership and ownership group that's doing extremely well.
Yeah, had a good winning yesterday. It's Indian Run for Eve Johnson Horton, who also had that horse got close at 40 to 1 later on. What a day for that yard. Media Shooter is nicely progressive. Only had 2 runs. 4th of 4, Hamilton first time out. Sharper at Wolverhampton when he got the better of By Bendham. Half a length in hand on By Bendham. The third horse also reopposes Stanley Spencer. Either they've all got a fair chance or they're all in a bit deep. I suspect it might be the latter.
This is horse number 22, right at the very bottom. Je ne sais quoi. Well, it was last of 6 at Windsor last time, and you've really got to mine the form all the way back to Thirsk in June to find a possible candidate run as far as form goes. But for me, he's going to struggle.
Yeah, it's not often you dismiss a Marquand and Haggis horse, but she seems up against it here. The Windsor performance off a mark of 79 in a handicap was a bad segment, wasn't it? She just ran a very plain race. 6th of 6, beaten nearly 5 lengths. That needs that needs to be left behind, and left behind by a good distance if she's to make a mark.
Okay, that's Je ne sais quoi. Horse number 12 is Master Franca. Cheek pieces on for the first time behind Van the Man, beaten by 3 lengths at Ayr last time out, and again needs to improve a lot.
Yeah, I'm interested to see Van der Man. I cannot see Master Franca reversing Ayr form. Was 3 lengths behind Van der Man. I thought it quite noticeable, John, when given a tap, the old tail did a quick revolution.
Right.
And Connections may be thinking, and some headgear goes on Master Franca. Cheek pieces for the first time. William Buick a good booking, but Van der Man just looked a better horse than Master Franca in that contest.
And Van der Man is horse number 18. We'll hopefully come to that one shortly. Stanley Spencer is the next one we can see. Another one with cheek pieces on for the first time. And it was third in that media shooter race at Wolverhampton.
Yeah, Neil Callan, I think, is on board. As you say, there are some cheek pieces involved here. James Tate, he's got ability, this fella. He will win a race. But when you watch the Wolverhampton race, he was behind Media Shooter. He was behind by Bendham. And unless the cheek pieces have a really galvanising effect, he's going to find it tough here. Yeah,
the par racing post speed figure is in the low 80s for this race, and this horse hasn't got anywhere near it yet. Number 17, Stanley Spencer. Doesn't mean to say he won't today, but that is slightly problematic.
At least one hits the board here at a big, big price.
Yeah.
But on the face of it, he's got plenty to find here. We'll do some price comparison in a moment, but just going down here, we got number 10. Grey Cuban, we've already had a look at, and number 6, horse I like, Twilight Romance, who I just think he's got a bit more to give. There's number 9, Ryan Moore is aboard, Dragon Leader, and number 4 is That's For Sure, who we haven't mentioned, I don't think, so far, John.
No, we haven't. Trained by Carl Burke, no stranger to the winner's enclosure here at York. Was well beaten in that big Nace Sales race back in August behind Golden Trick. Winner of Carlisle prior to that, but again a very unspectacular speed figure.
Yeah, and it's the same sort of dynamic, the race. Big field of immature horses, didn't really impress in the Nace race, so why should he come forward enough to make a major mark here? Let's look at the market and talk about our numbers, John.
Yeah.
Just putting up the Whirlpool market here. We should have a few discrepancies here, because if you get a big field, there'll always be differences of opinion. I like Twilight Romance. Just trying to... What's the favourite in the UK at the moment, John?
I think it is Twilight Romance, isn't it? Oh, no, it's Dragon Leader. I think Dragon Leader with Ryan Moore aboard for Clive Cox, 4-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, shall we zip down the card and see where the potential overpays are? We had a couple of good ones. First race yesterday, Equilateral. Jamie Spencer was a notable overpay. 17 in the Whirlpool. 12, I think, here in the UK. Angel of England is 24.
16-1.
Hackman, your Hackman, as I call him.
Gene.
39.
It's 40-1 here.
Love Billy Boy, 29.
28-1.
That's For Sure, 49.
66-1.
We Never Stop, 18.
16.
It's a wide open market. Yeah. Twilight Romance is the favourite, but at 5.8.
It was 5-1 here.
Very similar, not much difference so far. Ambushed is 16.
25-1.
By Bendham, it's 39.
33s.
Dragon Leader, 6.1.
4-1.
Slight overpay there. Grey Cuban, 17.
22s.
Landlubber, 48.
50-1.
Master Franca, 37.
66s.
Media Shooter, 45.
33-1.
An overpay there. Nazalan, 37.
66.
Persica, 12.
6-1 here in the UK.
That's the one that's notably bigger in the Whirlpool at the moment. The Pilgrim number 16 is 56.
Good Traveller, 66-1.
Stanley Spencer, 29.
80-1.
Van der Man, 49.
33-1.
That's Van der Man he could run all right here, I think. Yeah. Ziggy's Condor, 6.2.
4-1.
Slight overpay.
Yeah.
Dapper Ling, 13.
11-1.
Gaydon, 25.
12-1.
That's double the price. And a certain something, Je ne sais quoi, 28.
25-1.
Right, so overpays there. Gaydon was one potential.
One's to the top of the market.
Persica. Persica's 12 in the Whirlpool. What price here in the UK?
Is 13-2.
Yeah, so that's a couple of horses who are notably bigger.
Yeah.
Right, how about an interview here? Ed Bethel has a massive day here at York tomorrow with Regional in the Nunthorpe.
Yeah.
But nearer to hand, he has the Angel of England, top of the shop in this big sales race.
Got a bit of Clive Cox after him as well.
Edward Bethel alongside me has a small but select York team, and the first today is Angel of England. What chance?
Yeah, I probably messed up a little bit. I ran him in a Class 2 novice 2 weeks ago when he won, and so he's got a £5 penalty, which will make life hard. But he's in good form, and it's a wide open race, and it's worth such money. You've got to have a stab at it.
That's it. Winning's winning, though, isn't it? You can't really regret winning a race.
No, definitely not. It was a 30 grand novice, which is fantastic for the owners and for the yard. So yeah, winning is winning, but I regret it in the regards to having to go at this now. But delighted with how he's trained since, and we'll keep everything crossed with and hope he runs a good race.
You happy with stall 3?
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. They kind of middle to far side yesterday on the sprint track, but then they came up the stands side today, so not really sure.
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see, and we'll give it a whirl. And I think we've got plenty of the pace around us, which is always an advantage in a sprint.
Okay. Dave Neverson fancies Point Linus, so apologies for that. Watch out.
Hopefully he hasn't given it the kiss of death. No, he's in great nick. He's been in great nick since Ascot. Just the ground went against us in July. Would love to have got a run into him, but he's been training great. Wide open race. Poor horse every time he comes to York, gets drawn wide, but has finished first or second. So really looking forward to having a go. But again, under no illusions that it's pretty competitive, like they all are here. But excited.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.
No, great, Matt. He's a lovely horse, and it's nice to be competing for a really nice prize from the Doncaster sales, and good to be here with a horse with a chance.
Ground conditions ideal for you?
Yeah, he's pretty. I think it's beautiful ground. So yeah, the run of the race will be important, and we'll see.
And Clive, you've had some star juveniles in your time. These sales races often are won by a group horse in the making. Do you think Dragon might be that?
He's done everything right so far. Very difficult to win with a penalty, and I hope he's still progressing.
It's Middleton Park against Kennet Valley.
Matt Chapman and Tom Stanley asking the questions for differing TV networks, and they're about to load, Graham.
We learned a couple of things there. Winning is winning.
Yes.
That's valuable information. And superstitious trainers hope that a tipster hasn't given their horse the kiss of death. I guarantee you that doesn't exist. There is no such thing. But the superstitious trainers like to give themselves a little get out. A Dragon Leader has been very well backed here in the UK. Ziggy's Condor is solid at the top of the market. Twilight Romance, the betting 8-1 bar 3 here. In terms of numbers, I'm quite keen on Twilight Romance to run well here. I can't say he's going to win because there are so many potential dangers, but I like his profile. I like his York form, and I think he's on the up. So I like Twilight Romance. Others who I think deserve a definite positive mention include Van der Man at a big price. I'm quite surprised. Ziggy's Condor. They're my 2 or 3 against the field here. But my main option is Twilight Romance. I like his profile. I think he's got more to give.
Yeah, my on top selection is an enormous price, Hackman, but I'm happy to go with that one. I thought it was an enormous price at 48-hour stage. I thought that'll shorten up, and it actually got bigger. So there we go, Graham. Yeah, there's lots to like about this horse's earlier form, and has been in pretty deep last 2 or 3 races, and I think can certainly outrun the price. Twilight Romance, for all the reasons that you've said. Dappling, Jamie Spencer aboard, might give it a patient ride. I was hoping she might blaze with a lightweight. Yeah, exactly. Yes, hopefully she will blaze, because a lightweight as well should bring that in, and we never stop in there for 4. It's wide open.
Checking if a fast horse's speed seldom works. So I think the speed in this race, and there should be plenty of it. Dappling, Persica made all in a much shallower race at Salisbury. Angel of England showed a really easygoing nature at Nottingham. So there are at least 3 horses likely to go forward. The horse I like, Twilight Romance, is a confirmed stalker already, I think. So he should be coming home nice and strong. It's a strange race, John.
Yeah.
You have to have been bought at one or other of the Goff sales in order to run. It's worth 300 grand. I would be fairly confident this is the one and only chance the vast majority of these horses will ever have of racing for 300 sterling. It's an enormous day for most of them, because most of them, their future is going to lie in handicaps rather than stakes races.
Mum's Tipple got everybody very excited in this race 4 years ago, and Should Have Been a Ring is a pretty useful performer, and was victorious in this last year. So whether it'll throw up a group horse of the future is open to debate, but it'll be a good payday for somebody.
Yeah, I think in order to stamp yourself a group horse, you have to beat this lot decisively, don't you? A neck driven out will not do it, and it's not impossible we could have a bunch finish here, because it has more the look of a really tough handicap than a graded race, doesn't it?
Okay, lots of 2-year-olds down a straight track. Give me quite a few sleepless nights as a race call. Let's hope Stuart Machin's well rested prior to this.
Grey Cuban going in, that's for sure, moving in. So stall 6 is still to be filled. Dragon Leader is to go in. Ziggy's Condor still to go into stall 2. But we're down to the last 4 now. Master Franca about to go into stall 22, closest to the stands rail. I think the last one is about to move in, and I reckon that's going to be Gaydon into stall 10, and we could be set for the Goffs UK Harry Beebe Premier Yearling Stakes. Stand by. They're off. 6 furlongs, 1,200 metres ahead of the 22-strong field. Landlover out on the right in a sheepskin noseband to Ziggy's Condor in the light blue and dappling the pink and green, and Dragon Leader, dark jacket with a white cap, is showing bright speed. We Never Stop in the pink and green is also in that right-hand group with Twilight Romance in the white and purple, and then Pilgrim and Gaydon, Angel of England, and Je ne sais quoi who's in rear. Down the middle, Van the Man in a sheepskin noseband is a couple of lengths off the lead, with Love Billy Boy in the light blue, Bibendum in the stripes, and then Stanley Spencer. Media Shoe to the gold sleeves, and Cat will be towards the left as they go through halfway extreme left. Master Franca back to That's for Sure and Hackman, and then Grey Cuban and Persica, who's well down the field with Ambushed. Inside the last couple of furlongs, Dragon Leader with the white cap is in front here. Ziggy's Condor in the light blue giving chase to Van the Man in the noseband. On the left, Love Billy Boy. Further left under the rail, Media Shooter. Heading inside the last furlong, Dragon Leader being chased by Van the Man, Love Billy Boy, and Ziggy's Condor, but it's Dragon Leader with flames at his heels, who's storming clear in the closing stages, and Dragon Leader lands the golf pot. From Ziggy's Condor in second, close for third, Pilgrim was running on upside Love Billy Boy, a whole host in behind, including Van the Man and Hackman.
Dragon Leader has won and has run away to the line to go and score. That was a mightily impressive performance. We heard from Clive Cox beforehand. Ryan Moore has done the steering. Unbeaten in 2 coming into this, both at Salisbury, and has now landed a very big pot here and has won by panels. Has beaten into second Ziggy's Condor. Close go for third. I reckon Love Billy Boy has held on ahead of Pilgrim. I think they'll be your first 4 there. And we'll take a look and see about the rest of them. I think, was that Van the Man, I think, possibly just in behind them as well. But Dragon Leader has fairly bolted up in the colours of the Kennet Valley Syndicates 3, and they've got plenty to look forward to.
They're off. 6 furlongs, 1,200 metres ahead of the 22-strong field. Landlover out on the right in a sheepskin noseband to Ziggy's Condor in the light blue and dappling the pink and green, and Dragon Leader, dark jacket with a white cap, is showing bright speed. We Never Stop in the pink and green is also in that right-hand group with Twilight Romance in the white and purple, and then Pilgrim and Gaydon, Angel of England, and Je ne sais quoi who's in rear. Down the middle, Van the Man in a sheepskin noseband is a couple of lengths off the lead, with Love Billy Boy in the light blue, Bibendum in the stripes, and then Stanley Spencer. Media Shoe to the gold sleeves, and Cat will be towards the left as they go through halfway extreme left. Master Franca back to That's for Sure and Hackman, and then Grey Cuban and Persica, who's well down the field with Ambushed. Inside the last couple of furlongs, Dragon Leader with the white cap is in front here. Ziggy's Condor in the light blue giving chase to Van the Man in the noseband. On the left, Love Billy Boy. Further left under the rail, Media Shooter. Heading inside the last furlong, Dragon Leader being chased by Van the Man, Love Billy Boy, and Ziggy's Condor, but it's Dragon Leader with flames at his heels, who's storming clear in the closing stages, and Dragon Leader lands the golf pot. From Ziggy's Condor in second, close for third, Pilgrim was running on upside Love Billy Boy.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he lands it in no uncertain terms. It's a really good performance, Graham, because they've gone appreciably faster in the early part of this race they did in the Lowther, and he's not only hung around, he's given them a thrashing.
He's absolutely bolted up, and there was never a point in the race when he looked likely to do anything other than win. Ryan Moore had him out very quickly. He helped set some solid splits. Far right of picture, for a horse who's only had 1 run, Ziggy's Condor has run an excellent race. He came in unbeaten, but so did the winner, and there's 1 group race horse in this field. It is the winner. There are plenty of nice handicap prospects for the future, including Pilgrim, who ran really well, almost got up for third from the rejuvenated Love Billy Boy. Van der Man has run a very solid race in defeat. Twilight Romance did not fire a shot today. But look at the winner. He's won by what? He's won by 3.5 to 4. In fact, it's a minimum of 4. I'd upgrade him. I think he's value for more. So he will be going uptown to group races before too long. No question. 3 from 3.
Yeah, he certainly will be. And what he did in his previous race didn't look particularly special against the clock, but this certainly will. That was a very, very good performance indeed, and a horse definitely going in the right way. As far as the places are concerned, well, We Love Billy Boy has stayed on really well at a big price in there for third, and the fourth horse home, Pilgrim, yes, that's a pretty good effort as well. Horse
Van der Man
16,
just in behind.
Yeah,
he's a horse with some physical presence, and he's likely raced, so there will be plenty of winners come from this at the right level. But I think there's only one potential stakes horse in this race, and it's stating the obvious. Maybe Ziggy's Condor in time, but the winner was cut from a different cloth and showed it from a long way out.
So we're still waiting for the post-mortem. Hopefully we'll get some reaction very shortly.
Kennet Valley Thoroughbreds are very long-standing and popular syndicate, and they have a very strong connection with Newbury Racecourse. So the Mill Reef Stakes Group 2 2-year-old race in the autumn would be a very viable candidate for him. But he's won it in such a style that you can aim pretty big with a horse like that. 3 from 3. Took a long time to get on top first time. Had to work pretty hard second time. This is a significant step forward. Fascinating to hear what Ryan Moore made of this, because he's not easily impressed. But this fella must have impressed him.
Well, Clive Cox, the winning trainer and the winning jockey, just having a chat. Clive, if I could just squeeze in, Matt will chat to you in the winner's enclosure. I'm sure he'll be delighted to hear. I'll grab a word with Ryan. I loved what he did inside the final half furlong. He really seemed to extend and get the job done very impressively there.
Yeah, obviously it's only his third run. He'd won both his previous starts at Salisbury. So probably was a little. The opinion was maybe 6 here might be a bit sharp. But he showed good speed throughout, and when I asked him to put the race to bed, he found plenty. It was good through the line. He probably 7 phones won't be a problem. Yeah.
Got into a lovely rhythm as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Just a word on some of your rides later on. Obviously, Save the Last Dance. How much are you looking forward to her?
Yeah, she had a great year. She done well to win at the Forum.
Will the ground be right for her?
I think she ran very well in the Oaks. She got beat, but she was still second. So I don't think it'll be a problem.
Good luck.
Yes, Ryan, who rides Save the Last Dance, coming up in the Yorkshire Oaks in a couple of races' time. But Dragon Leader, I think we're looking at a pretty smart 2-year-old colt, this one, bred by the Yeomanstown stud, and now 3 from 3. Does actually have an entry on the 14th of September at Doncaster. In another big 2-year-old sales race. That's another race worth 300,000. So whether or not they decide to maybe sort of chase the big bucks and go for a race like that, or as the guys there in York had obviously mentioned, they're likely to aim for something at group level, you would imagine. And he's also got an entry in the 2-year-old trophy, a listed race on the 7th of October at Redcar. But bit of water to pass under the bridge prior to those engagements, but we can certainly keep a watchful eye on Dragon Leader going forward. I dare say we might be seeing him on a few more World Pool simulcasts throughout the next 12 months or so. It went the way of number 9, Dragon Leader, 55, 50 and 18 there about the winner. The runner-up was number 19, Ziggy's Condor at 18.50. Third was number 3, Love Billy Boy at 107.50, and fourth number 16, Pilgrim at 109.50. 4 placings here. Quinella returns 163, forecast 348. The TS 15,171. The Trio 4,007. $70 for the 9 and 19 QQP. 3 and 9 at 504.50. 3 and 19 499. First 4 60,530. 3, 9, 16 and 19. And the quartet, 416,447 to a $10 unit, 9, 19, 3 and 16 on the quartet there. So we'll just wait for that to become official, and that will all be ready to collect if you have backed the winner or backed one of the placed horses or any of the exotics. Right, let's move on. We've got the Clipper Handicap coming up next, the Heritage Handicap. This one Decent sized field. We're over the 15.75 metres for this one. So it's just shy of the mile. Let's take a look at the field. Blue for You, Danny Tudhope drawn 18. Escobar, good old Escobar, popular on these World Pool Summercasts. James Doyle drawn 7. Sonny Liston, Ryan Moore in 12. Northern Express, Paul Morenon in 6. Akunajla is David Egan drawn 4. Ellen Dubb is Clifford Lee drawn 9. Take Out Outbreak is now an absentee. 8 is Point Linus for Callum Rodriguez in 14. Ropey Guess, Tom Quealy in 8. Orban, Jason Watson in 11. Darkness, Neil Callan in 5. Cruyff Turn, David Allen in 16. La Trinidad is Johnny Pete, claiming the 3, drawn 20. Austrian Theory, Jason Hart, drawn 2. 15, Dutch Decoy, Oliver Stammers, drawn 15. The Gatekeeper, William Buick in 13. Spirit Catcher, Joe Fanning in 10. Racing Brakes Rider, Richard Kingscote in 1. Master Richard is Oisin Murphy, drawn 3. And Tawada is Tom Marquand, drawn 17. Tawada down at the bottom there. They've weighed in for the previous 55, 50 and 18 the winner. That was Dragon Leader. 18.50, 107.50 and 109.50 the placings. 4 placings there, 9, 19, 3 and 16. Quinella, 163. Forecast, 348. The Tiers, 15,171. The Trio, 4,007. QQPs, 9 and 19, 70. 3 and 9, 504.50. 3 and 19, 499. They have weighed in for the second. First 4, 60,530. 416,447 for the quartet. And the double, race 1, 6 or 7 into 9, 149.50. 19 for the second race, the consolation there, 31.50. So there's the presentation underway. Plenty of happy connections there from Kennet Valley Thoroughbreds. They've got a very nice horse on their hands, most definitely. 1:10.38 was the time. 1:10.38 was the winner's time. And the distances, they'll be pretty generous, one would imagine, visually on what we saw. Try and bring you those distances. Don't think we've got them. Okay, well we'll try and do that in due course. Let's have a look at the key races for race 3.
On the far side, but it's Garley that holds sway from Empire State of Mind and Stormcatcher. Major partnership behind these from Akunajla as they run down to the final furlong. Garley with a lead of about a length and a half over Stable Companion. Major partnership, then Stormcatcher, Empire State of Mind. The Spanish horse Rodaballo is running on well with Akunajla, but Garley is going to hold them all at bay in genuine fashion. Far trying to come through Lear Special and Fresh, and then in behind these is on the far side Bless Him trying to get there, and Takrid Bay coming through. Meanwhile on the stand side Baradar leads the way to Ramazan and Star of Orion and Northern Express, and Hickory is coming home well down the near side. Takrid Bay is taking it up on the far side from Fresh. Montasib on the near side. Baradar is all out the near side. It's Baradar that leads the way to Star of Orion and Hickory, and it's Baradar who wins the International.
As back to the inside rail, Ross Collin is next, followed by La Trinidad, and then Scottish Summit. Nothing from Manny Gordon, and tailing off is Barney. They race down inside the final furlong, and now it is Blue for You, who goes through and takes the lead in the hands of Danny Tudhope. Blue for You has now gone clear. He goes for the lead of 2.5 lengths. What's the story will get Chase in second, but it is Dane Chase. He was second last year, and in fact the full-back winner this year. Blue for You wins. Tight second between What's the Story.
Wide now the Gatekeeper coming home well. Sonny Liston with Dutch Decoy a while, and out wide the Wizard of Eye. Darkness is claimed now by Johan. Johan on the outside of Darkness. In fact they go head and head. Here's the Gatekeeper rallying in third from Dutch Decoy and Sonny Liston. They race up towards the line, and Johan taking it up under James Doyle. The Gatekeeper is fighting back on the near side, but Johan first run for Jack Channon and wins the Golden Mile. Johan from his second.
Yeah, they were the key races there, and very competitive handicap. This one coming up. The 5 is the favourite. Aku Najla is 4.6 on the world pool. David Egan and Roger Varian teaming up. David Egan, who will get the big race ride on Al Hussein coming up in the corresponding race, the Yorkshire Oaks, the feature of day number 2. So the crowd's certainly building. That parade ring will fill up very shortly with equine talent. 4.5 lengths in the end, and 3/4 for the sales race number 2. So 4.5 lengths. Dragon Leader did manage to score by. So did it mightily impressively indeed. We saw in that piece of VT, Sonny Liston, bit of money for him at this stage, 9.6 down to 6.6. Dutch Decoy came through the same race in fine, consistent form over 1,600 metres on varied ground. In the first 3, last 5 outings in similar sort of races must be respected, says the graphic there. I think that's certainly a fair comment. Big ride here for Oliver Stammers. Don't know too much about Oliver, but he has ridden this horse in the past, and did actually win on the horse at Newmarket a couple of starts ago when scoring there on good ground. That was soft ground at Goodwood last time out, so he'll certainly handle himself on the quicker surface. Placed at Epsom and Sandown twice on good to firm ground officially this season, and typically of the Johnston horses, obviously formerly Mark, now Charlie, they do stand plenty of racing, which he has done this season. There are the reference odds on screen for you. Another big field to pick the bones out of. Runners in the parade ring, so we'll cross back to you, or can rejoin Graham and John.
Yeah, welcome back to York for the third race on the card. The Clipper Handicap is our next port of call. Horse number 8 in shot here is the first one we can take a look at.
Point Linus, my old friend. I fancied him in the Royal Hunt Cup, World Pool Day at Royal Ascot. He didn't really shine, but I'm going to give him another chance. His previous excellent second here in May reads very well.
Yeah, and that 3-year-old handicap run, controversial finish last year, reads pretty well in the context of this as well. He's in my numbers as well. Point Linus, horse number 8 in this race. Quite a few household names for you, certainly household names in mine. Aku Najla is horse number 5, the horse that cost so much money. Is a reasonable handicapper, a good handicapper, Graham, but not quite lived up to financial expectations.
Cost an absolute fortune, 2-point-something million, was it? 2.7 million, son of Kingman. So he obviously impressed at the sales. He's useful, but when a horse has that sort of price tag, you always think, well, he should be in group races. He might be eventually, and he ran very well after a break, went 4th at Ascot. Don't think he was ideally placed in a slowly run race that day.
Okay, that's horse number 5, Aku Najla. Plenty to get through here. This is number 4, Northern Express, another World Pool favourite who's been just thoroughly consistent all season, 4th last time at Ascot.
Yeah, he's super consistent. He's very effective at York. Seldom fails to run his race. Inches up the handicap as a result. I think he's very effective at 7 and a mile. So if you're looking for a horse who runs a very good race more often than not, you could do worse.
Yep, and he's actually been eased a pound by the handicapper after that excellent 4th in the Moët and Chandon International Handicap at Ascot on King George Day, so it might be given a bit of a chance by the assessor as well. Right, we're moving from Northern Express, one of many, many chances in this race, to horse number 3, Sonny Liston, who of course was part of that 1-2 for Chelsea Thoroughbreds in the Royal Hunt Cup. Soft ground at York subsequently probably wasn't ideal, although did run pretty well on the soft surface behind Johan in that handicap at Goodwood.
Yeah, I think 9 of this lot come from the Golden Mile at Goodwood, and he ran pretty well, 5th at Goodwood, beaten 3 lengths. He's been to York twice, and he hasn't run up to his best on either occasion. That could be just coincidence. It's not a large sample, but any number of these ran in the Golden Mile, including Sonny Liston. He's got Ryan Moore aboard for Rafe Beckett.
The Golden Mile definitely favoured front runners, and he was in the field, so it wasn't necessarily a bad run. This is horse number 15, Dutch Decoy, a bit like Northern Express, just been thoroughly consistent, was 3rd in that Golden Mile at Goodwood.
And he was one of the front runners, so we got a completely clean shot at that Goodwood race, which I do not expect to be a really good literal form guide here. It's a very different track. More importantly, it's very different ground, but he is a very honest, reliable operator, Dutch Decoy, and he gives Stammers is running way more often than not.
Yep, he goes into my numbers. Young Oliver Stammers, who's no longer a claimer. Still a good jockey, though. He is aboard. Horse number 1, Blue For You, won this race, weaving through them last year. Didn't look like he was going to win until he did, Graham. He's obviously up a little bit in the weights. Got top weight to carry here for the Daniel Tudhope, David O'Mara mustard combination here at York.
Yeah, O'Mara's got a great record in this. He comes mob-handed. I think he has 4 in the mix this time. He's a fair bit higher in the weights than last year. Blue For You, £9 higher, but he does have that turn of foot. And after waiting for a gap last year, he quickened in excellent style to settle it. 10th of Goodwood, I'm not going to read too much into that. I think it was a nice springboard for the race that's certainly been ringed in O'Mara's calendar for a good while.
Yep, and of course he won prior to this, or prior to that Goodwood race as well. This is
Stall 18, John, Blue For You, but he is a hold-up horse in any case.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be okay. Horse number 10 is Orban, who just ran the other day, actually, at Sandown, finishing 5th. Wasn't a bad run. He actually is quite well treated on the form of this race last year.
He was 9th at Goodwood, but he was drawn 19. Now, the winner won from a high draw, but he offset that draw with early speed. Orban was held up, paid the penalty. I thought he ran pretty well last time at Sandown, but not quite well enough to suggest he's really tossed in at these weights.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed he ran at Sandown, because it means he's logically not going to run here, but they've decided to turn him around very quickly.
He ran well in this race as well last year.
He did, yeah, and as I say, he's quite well off at the weights with 1 or 2 others, but we'll see how he gets on. This is horse number 16, The Gatekeeper, 2nd in the Golden Mile, again on speed throughout, so he was probably in the favoured part of the track. William Buick aboard, interestingly, for Charlie Johnston.
He had a long break, but he's come back tough this year. 2 good seconds recently. The Goodwood run, he had a completely clean shot at the Golden Mile. He had a low draw, he had the speed to get a handy position, and he ran very well in. He ran very well. He's £2 well in on official figures, but will he get quite the saloon passage today that he did at Goodwood?
Yeah, and this is the problem. And as far as the draw's concerned, yes, you probably would want a low number. You're a mile around a bend, but there are quite a lot of horses historically, or gates, that have done okay, even despite the fact that their occupants have been drawn quite wide. That's horse number 16, The Gatekeeper. And we'll be moving on to 17 now, and this is Spirit Catcher, who was a winner at Ripon last time out. And you groan, Graham.
I groan because whereas Dutch Decoy and The Gatekeeper are pretty consistent Johnson horses, have a look at this one. He bolted up at Ripon last weekend, and there was practically nothing in his previous couple of runs that made you think he might do that. But the market told you that people expected him to bounce back. Bounce back he did. He won in great style, and if he's in the same mood, then maybe he'll run a blinder.
2 handlers, both beautifully turned out in their Mark Johnson waistcoats as well. So there we go. There's horse number 20 right down at the bottom, Tawada. Tom Marquand and Ed Walker teaming up here. This horse has got a bit of potential. Just 5th start.
I don't think too many 3-year-olds have run in this race. Certainly very few have won it. Tawada's on the upgrade. 2 good wins on his last 2 starts, a wide margin success, then a tidy handicap success at Newmarket. Draw might be a bit more of a concern for him, John. First, because he's inexperienced. Second, because he went forward last time. And third, because 17 requires plenty of early speed if you're going to try and get on the engine here.
And he's never encountered a field bigger than 8 either, so he goes up as far as that's concerned. Now, this is a very interesting horse. Master Richard does get a nice draw, stall 3. Ran an absolute belter in that big 3-year-old handicap alongside Point Linus last year. Didn't do much in the early part of the season, but seems to have been tuned up nicely for this with that run at Newmarket last time
I
out.
can see where you're coming from with this lad. He's very talented, he's fast, but he gets the trip well. And there are 2 additions here, John. First is a pair of cheeky pieces, and the second is a jockey called Oisin Murphy for the first time.
Yeah, well, that was even more of a thing when I saw that at the 48-hour stage, and stall 3, you went on top of my list.
Passed the post second at this meeting last year. Connections appealed it and got it back 6 days later, I think. So he runs the track very well.
And the pair of them, him and Point Linus, were in the sharp end the whole time in a fast run race as well, so they didn't fold up when they could have been reasonably expected to. This is horse number 2. This is Escobar, dear old Escobar, who often runs on the World Pool. We've seen him lots over the last couple of years. Ran an absolute belter in this race last year, Graham. As yet, the form hasn't been great this season, but it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in racing if he ran well.
Wouldn't shock me at all. He was a head second in this race last year. There are excuses for his last 2 runs. 13th at Goodwood from stall 21 as a hold-up horse. No use to man or beast. 8th at Ascot in the Shergar Cup. No pace. Therefore, he pulled too hard. Both his last 2 races are straightforward chuck-out races. We might see the real Escobar today, and that's a horse who can run a place, I think.
Yeah, and he was part of that O'Mara 1-2 in the race last year, right? This is horse number 11, Darkness, another prominent runner in the Golden Mile last time out, and was a winner at Newmarket yesterday. Serona didn't do a huge amount for the form yesterday, but still Darkness is coming to this race in good form. The Iron Man up.
Yeah, Darkness is another O'Mara horse with a pretty solid chance. He had a clean shot at things in the Golden Mile. He was 4th behind Johan. He led. He rallied when he was headed, and he was only beaten a couple of lengths. Prior to that, he'd won at Newmarket. So in short, he's bang in form. He's uncomplicated, and he's drawn 5, so he should get his chance again.
Yep, and we just saw a clip there of Neil Callan getting aboard. Moving on now to horse number 6, Eileen Douve, who was 19th in the Golden Mile that we keep mentioning, but 3rd behind a horse called Blue for You, of course, who runs here as well 2 starts ago, and that was at York. So that was a decent effort with this race in mind.
Yeah, I think Eileen Douve was pretty badly drawn from memory in the Goodwood race. Didn't show much all the same, but it was always going to be a tough goal from stall 22. So it's a case of better run here, perhaps better form. Has run the track well. 1 or 2 others I would prefer.
No, we got one that went down early, Cruyff Turn, who won this race a couple of years ago.
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. So he's not been in particularly good form this year. He did win a race at Redcar. It wasn't a particularly great contest. Was well beaten behind Biggles in the Bunbury Cup, Graham.
Yeah, and this would not encourage you. I suspect he's behaved like this before. Is it David Allen getting on board?
Yes.
David is a really good, very capable jockey, also a very good footballer. And there's a jockeys football match on the Naves Mile later on tonight. It's one of those tricky ones, ex-jockeys v current jockeys. Now the ex-jockeys are at liberty to, how shall we say, get stuck in, aren't they? It doesn't matter if they... the current jockeys might have to be jumping quite high when the tacklers come in just to avoid any injury. But David Allen is a canny player. Cruyff Turn, I'm not sure about him.
Yeah, well,
not today.
Well, he won this race 2 years ago off 95.94 today, so theoretically he's quite well handicapped. This is another horse with course and distance winning form, La Trinidad, who gets stalled 20, Graham, so not ideal, but in decent form.
Yeah, he's run the track well several times in the past. The potential problem for La Trinidad is that when he won at Donny, he didn't stop. He went clear. He went 4 clear, and therefore the handicapper banged him up £9. He ran okay and went 5th there last time, but he was well behind Blue for You, and I would just wonder if that £9 hike for the Donny success has made life a bit tough for him at the moment.
Yes, it's never ideal when they get a big rise in the weights by winning a far less competitive race.
Going forward there, the front of those two is Racing Breaks rider, who hasn't gone on from his easy ground wins in the early part of the season, so I'll pass on him. In turn, we'll do the prices in a moment. The horse I've got on top here is Point Linus, and it's a speculator. I don't normally like tipping horses in tough races on the back of an ordinary run. I'll make an exception in his case because I really liked his York form in the spring. I'm intrigued by your case for Master Richard. The cheek pieces and the Oisin Murphy and the York form, I think, add up to a reasonably persuasive case at a big price. Blue for You and Escobar speak for themselves because they were 1st and 2nd in this race last year, and they'll get the strong gallop here that should suit them perfectly.
Now, the only person you really want to hear from, apart from myself and Graham, when it comes to this race, is David O'Mara, so here he is.
Well, here's David O'Mara. He's got some right old favourites in this race, the likes of Escobar and Orban for Mr. Chew. But Blue for You was a winner 2 runs ago, won this race last year, loves this track.
He does. He's drawn wide, so Daniel have a little bit of work to do. But he didn't run probably as bad as his finishing position at Goodwood. He was drawn, I think, pretty wide at Goodwood, if I can remember. Actually, he wasn't. He was held up off a very slow pace. But he likes it here, and they look like they'll go a good gallop, so fingers crossed.
Orban's £5 lower than last year when he was 4th. He's got good York form as form. With him, is it a little bit hard to predict when he'll bounce back?
Again, he's just a hostage to them going quick enough. He's a hold-up horse. You know, we've got Darkness in there who likes to get on with it, and Escobar again, who's sort of similar, likes a bit of cover. But, hopefully one of them can win it.
If you were pushed, if someone said to you now you could only run one of the 4, David, which one would you unleash?
Oh Christ, I'll upset 3 others if I say.
Yeah, but come on.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of money for Orban there in the last sort of few hours. I thought Blue For You might be the best chance coming into this race, but a lot of these big handicaps, I mean, we won the Balmoral with an 80-1 shot. You know, we put them in there because they're good enough. You know, how the race unfolds really depends on what wins it. You know, not really sort of who's the best in it. You know, different running styles.
That's very fair. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, he's the man who holds quite a few aces in this particular pack, and interesting, he's probably plumping there for Blue For You, but mentioning the money as well for Auburn.
Yeah, I thought that was a typical David O'Mara interview, because he knows this is a handicap, and they're exposed handicappers by and large, and therefore a little bit of luck, slow break, a gap at the right time or the wrong time can be absolutely crucial. And if you stack up Escobar, Blue For You, Orban and Darkness, his quartet here, they will have run against each other quite a lot. So it wouldn't be easy to back the winner of that forerunner O'Mara race. So he's absolutely right not to jump in and say, Matt, of the four, the one I definitely fancy is this, because if only the game were ever that simple.
Yeah.
Matt Chapman likes to make it, you know, black or white, heroes or villains. If you back horses often enough, you'll know it's not like that, John.
Indeed. Although if you want to have an exotic bet, maybe just pooling up all the O'Mara horses, you could do a lot worse when it comes to sort of QPs, etc., couldn't you?
Have a look at this time last year.
Yeah.
I think he had at least 4 runners in this race 12 months ago. Blue For You had to wait what seemed like an eternity for the gap to come. When it did, he zipped through as 11-2 favourite and won. Escobar was beaten ahead, cracking old horse. He was 8 at the time. Roger Varian had the 3rd. David O'Mara had the 4th in Orban. And Northern Express, who we should come back to in a minute, he ran very well for 7th. I think this is Michael Dodds' first runner of the week. He has a great strike rate at York, but he doesn't have social runners. He only runs horses here who he thinks are really ready to run a big race. So I know you've always been a Northern Express fan, haven't you?
Yeah, I think he's just been a marvellous horse, and he seems to like these really big fields and strongly run races, and it doesn't seem to matter whether it's a mile or 7 furlongs, and he run well. I didn't have him in the numbers, which is maybe
Northern Express?
Didn't have
That's
him
a first.
It could well be a first. Yes, a World Pool first. I think he was certainly on the long shortlist, but he had to whittle it down to 4 in the end. And he was 7th in this last year, which just made me slightly concerned, because he didn't have any obvious excuses last year.
No,
either.
agreed.
But there were so many likely candidates in this race. Obviously, I like Master Richard. I've liked Dutch Decoy as well. That'll be the cue for me. Dutch Decoy, stall 15. He'll probably sort of settle up midfield, but he's been so consistent. I think he'll run very, very well. But Master Richard,
young Charles Johnson is likely to have a significant say in shaping this race, because he's got a handful of runners. Dutch Decoy is a forward goer. Likewise, the Gatekeeper and Spirit Catcher won't be too far away. So do not be surprised if passing halfway that Charlie Johnson has the Quinella or maybe even the trifecta. But you would think, by and large, John, I think this race stacks up pretty well for the hold-up brigade.
I think so. Well, certainly Master Richard will kick on. I think Darkness is going to be prominent. Cruyff Turn, if he's behaving himself, might go on as well. Others that we haven't mentioned. Austrian Theory is a horse we haven't spoken about.
Johnson horse.
Indeed, and he will probably go forward as well. So, and the Gatekeeper too went forward to some effect at Goodwood last time. Obviously, they might not find things quite as easy from the front end here at York as they did at Goodwood, but we'll see. I
don't believe there's going to be a tougher race all week. 4 days, 3 days of Whirlpool action and Saturday. I don't think the Ebor is as difficult as this race. That Cruyff Turn is in a bit of a funk, isn't he? He's really, really in a bad mood today.
Which is, when you see that from an experienced handicapper, you think something must be quite badly wrong, because I can't recall him behaving like that in the past.
And I would therefore be, famous last words, you'd be really surprised to see him produce a peak performance on the back of that moody effort, wouldn't you?
Okay, well, about half of the field still to go in. Stuart Machin's got a tough job in his hands today, having just dealt very deftly, it has to be said, with that 2-year-old sales race. He's now got this big handicap as well.
He's got an extra job tonight. He's calling the football match between the jockeys.
Is he really?
As well. Not the entirety, but he's going to have to interject at various points, do a bit of analysis, announce the subs, etc.
Oh, goodness.
So he's a busy
getting
man.
a nice fee for that. Who's refereeing? Do we know who's in charge?
No idea, but I know that a certain Tory is presenting the trophy. But if I know a certain Tory, he'll present the trophy before the match and then fire off for dinner and then say, "That's my bit done. Give the trophy to whoever wins," and airbrush the picture.
What time's kick-off? It's almost worth sticking around for this. I'm not rushing off anywhere tonight.
It's been not too long after the last race, and it's the first time for about 14 years, because the racing calendar has been consolidated nowadays.
Yeah.
There are enough jockeys on site to make the two teams. They're not having to dash off to night meetings, because in Britain now jockeys can only ride at the one meeting in a day.
No two-footed challenges, though, I think would be the maxim to most, I'd reckon. Anyway, they're putting them in. They're nearly ready for the Clipper Logistics handicap. But the aforementioned Stuart Machin, race caller and football commentator extraordinaire.
Cruyff Turn and Escobar. Escobar, incidentally, slight colour change to most publications. Plain red cap for Escobar rather than the multicoloured quarters. So we're down now to the last 3 or 4 to go. Point Linus, going to be one of the last trio. And now we're down to the final couple, by the looks of things. Cruyff Turn moving in, and I reckon Escobar is going to be the last. He'll complete the line into stall 7 across at the 1 mile start. He moves in now, blindfolds come off, clear. They're off for the Clipper Stakes. A mile ahead of them, got away to a fairly clean line. Sunny Liston is among those dropped in towards the rear early, with La Trinidad and Blue for You. Point Linus out wide in the blue and yellow is prominent, with Spirit Catcher in the grey and orange, the Gatekeeper in the light blue. Ropey Guest up the running rail in a blue and white jacket is handy into the turn, with Aylandu in the white and green, Northern Express the red sleeves in about 6th or 7th position, in behind the likes of Cruyff Turn and Austrian Theory is in the light green. Racing Breaks Rider in the purple and yellow back in midfield to darkness out wide from Master Richard and Tawada. Akunaj, the black and yellow stripes, got about 6 or 7 behind. Orban is one of them on straightening, with Blue for You and Sunny List and Escobar with the red cap. La Trinidad is last but one, and Dutch Decoy's last of all. Those two racing just in the slipstream of last year's winner. Blue for You is in the black and red with the white cap. They've gone through halfway, and it's Point Linus who leads. Cruyff Turn with the maroon and blue on the sleeves is moving up to mount a challenge. The Gatekeeper in the light blue is right there. On the right, Ropey Guest and Spirit Catcher. Austrian Theory in the light green with a blue cap is picking up. Towards the left, Tawada in a yellow jacket is running on in behind Darkness. They've got about a furlong and a half left to go. It's still Point Linus from Ropey Guest, Spirit Catcher, the Gatekeeper, Austrian Theory. From the rear, Dutch Decoy in the mauve and black is fairly flying home with a noseband in Northern Express. Ropey Guest has come alongside Point Linus. These two fight at the finish. Ropey Guest inches home from Point Linus. They were chased in by the likes of Spirit Catcher, Sunny Liston late on the scene, and then Northern Express.
Yeah, good old Ropey Guest has won it, has beaten into second place Point Linus. Close go for third. I think that might be Spirit Catcher. It was just nabbed third ahead of the far side horse whose saddle cloth was just obscured there. Not sure on that one, but in fact it's Sunny Liston, isn't it, with the blue sleeves? Yeah. But Ropey Guest, the 6-year-old George Margison and Tom Quealy having a little bit of a resurgence of late in the winners' enclosure here. And good old Ropey Guest, he's a reliable old stick, and he's won this at any old odds. He got up to 50s on the World Pool.
For the Clipper Stakes, a mile ahead of them, got away to a fairly clean line. Sunny Liston is among those dropped in towards the rear early, with La Trinidad and Blue for You. Point Linus out wide in the blue and yellow is prominent, with Spirit Catcher in the grey and orange, the Gatekeeper in the light blue. Ropey Guest up the running rail in a blue and white jacket is handy into the turn, with Aylandu in the white and green, Northern Express the red sleeves in about 6th or 7th position, in behind the likes of Cruyff Turn, and Austrian Theory, who's in the light green. Racing Breaks Rider in the purple and yellow back in midfield to Darkness out wide from Master Richard and Tawada. Aku Najla, black and yellow stripes, got about 6 or 7 behind. Orban is one of them on straightening with Blue for You and Sunny List and Escobar with the red cap. La Trinidad is last but one, and Dutch Decoy's last of all. Those two racing just in the slipstream of last year's winner, Blue for You, who's in the black and red with the white cap. They've gone through halfway, and it's Point Linus who leads. Cruyff Turn with the maroon and blue on the sleeves is moving up to mount a challenge. The gatekeeper in the light blue is right there. On the right, Ropey Guest and Spirit Catcher. Austrian Theory in the light green with a blue cap is picking up. Towards the left, Tawada in a yellow jacket is running on in behind Darkness. They've got about a furlong and a half left to go. It's still Point Linus from Ropey Guest, Spirit Catcher, the gatekeeper, Austrian Theory. From the rear, Dutch Decoy in the mauve and black is fairly flying home with a noseband in Northern Express. Ropey Guest has come alongside Point Linus. These two fight out the finish. Ropey Guest inches home from Point Linus. They were chased in by the likes of Spirit.
Ropey Guest. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself. He's been a very, very solid citizen for years and years now for the George Margusson Yard, but he's not a regular winner. He's the type to sort of finish second or third at the big price, but has suddenly won, Graham, and just done Point Linus as well, your selection.
Yeah, and my theory about the Stalkers going really well here has exploded, because the first three are all bang on the speed from start to finish. Point Linus has given it a right lash here. Ropey Guest, we've seen him so many times at Ascot. He's been to York infrequently, if ever, but it's really suited him. More positive riding tactics round the bend instead of the straight tacks he often goes on. Little unlucky on the near side. Dutch Decoy was either taken back or missed the break. Northern Express runs a screamer as usual. Spirit Catcher and Sunny Listed on the far side pick up the minor money. Talk about speed holding out here, John. They went 24s and 24s and then some rapid acceleration in the third quarter.
They certainly did, 22.6. So you needed to be in the front rank really when that acceleration was kicked in, because closing off was not going to be easy from that perspective. But we've seen that quite a bit this week. The pace certainly holding up on this fast ground.
Yeah, the margins are so tight. I'm glad I gave Point Linus another chance. He's run an absolute belter, but what about frustration for Ed Bethel? He came here for the big Hamilton handicap in the spring, just got beaten by Croupier, and now he's a very narrow second again. So it's been frustration for him. Further back in the field, left of picture on the head-on. Blue for You never really fired any sort of shot today. Really frustrating race for the O'Mara stable, and perhaps a small factor of that was the runners couldn't get on the speed, which is where you needed to be.
Certainly, and Master Richard, who I thought would be on the speed, never got there yet, and that wasn't a very good run at all. So, but there we go. Tom Queally aboard the winner, of course, who 11 years ago was partnering Frankel. Now he's partnering Ropey Guest. Not quite as good as Frankel, but certainly has a following, and it's great to see him land a big prize.
Yeah, and Tom Queally has an interesting ride for this. George Margusson later on. I wonder what Queally has to say 11 years on since Frankel's dynamic international win.
Well, Rosie's got the horse. I've still got the microphone, so I'm going to grab a word with Tom. And toughed it out really well there, Tom.
Yeah. Change of scenery seemed to work, so nice to get his head in front in a good race.
You got into a bit of a battle. You always seemed to travel well. Were you always confident late on you'd get the better of Point Linus?
Yeah, I had a good draw. And then result of that, I got a good position, and he just seemed a bit more lit up today and just a bit more interested, I suppose. I think he's gone a little bit jaded at Ascot. He runs there so often, so when we run him on a different track, it seems to work.
And we were talking that Ed was just mentioning, obviously, your association with George goes back many years.
Yeah, George is a very good trainer. He's been very good and loyal to me. From the time I came off the boat, I've ridden on and off for him over the years, and with very small numbers, he's able to hold his own with any of the big boys, and he's not afraid to campaign him accordingly, and he's a very experienced horseman, and that's a quality that's kind of overlooked a lot of the time. So fair dues to him.
There he is. Well done, Tom.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, great stuff. Well done to Tom Queally there, and Ropey Guest gets the win. Yeah, I'd certainly echo those comments. George Margusson, a wonderful. I used to be a big fan of an old horse he used to train called Atavus many years ago now, but he was a real hard-knocking type of horse, and He's had some good horses as well. Lady Cristal was one of them. That's Rosie Margison, the trainer's daughter, actually leading the horse up. The gentleman in the suit, that's Jimmy Scott, for those with slightly longer memories. Former very valued lieutenant at the Sir Michael Stout stable, Jimmy Scott. He was there for many, many years. And he clearly has travelled this horse to York today, and they've managed to get the win, so great stuff. Let's take a look at the result. He's going to pay $503.50 for the win, $123.50 the place. Massive turn up here with Ropey Guest. Second was number 8, Point Linus at $45.50. Third, number 17, Spirit Catcher at $55.50. And fourth, number 3, Sunny Liston on the far side. Quinella, $2,933. The forecast, $5,475. The Tierce, $147,036. The Trio, $17,966. QQPs 8 and 9, $862. 9 and 17, $1,140 and $50. And 8 and 17, $320.50. So we'll wait for that to become all official. I'm pretty sure that the trainer's other daughter, Katie, will be delighted. She absolutely loves this horse, Ropey Guest. First 4, 3, 8, 9 and 17, $86,560. Quartet, $230,826.10. That's to a $1 unit. So, massive quartet. 9, 8, 17 and 3. $230,000 plus some small change there to a $1 unit on the quartet. For race number 3, that was the Clipper Handicap. Ropey Guest, the winner, getting the better of Point Linus in a good finish. Right, we'll come back to that when required with the full result, and once it has all been made official, and we're going to move on momentarily to our feature race coming up. It is the Yorkshire Oaks. It's the Group 1 showpiece of the afternoon over there on the Knavesmire, and it is an excellent field assembled for this race. It's over 2,371 metres. Our next 2 races are, in fact, but there's a look at the course that they will be running ahead of this race. Save the Last Dance is an odds-on favourite, 1.9 and 1.3 for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. Number 1 is Al Hoosen. David Egan drawn 4, winner of the Nassau. 3 Wind is Frankie Dettori, drawn 3. Poptronic is Sam James, drawn 7. Ross Cowbury for Ireland. Billy Lee in 10. Sea Silk Road, Tom Marquand, drawn 2. Stay Alert is Oisin Murphy in 8. That's that one for Hughie Morrison. Horse number 7 is Blue Stocking. Ross Orion for Rafe Beckett, drawn 1. Novakai is William Buick, drawn 5. And the 2 Ballydor runners, Save the Last Dance in the navy blue, Ryan Moore, drawn 6. And Warm Heart is James Doyle in the all-pink jacket, drawn in barrier number 9. So we've got a field of 10 to go to post here for this Group 1. And Save the Last Dance is your odds on favour. One man who's going to try and upset the party is Carl Burke. He's got Poptronic and Novakai in the race, both of them at decent old prices. I think we can hear from him now.
It's a shame they have to take each other on in some ways, but you know, they both deserve the chance. And Poptronic is on a good upward curve. She produced a great performance at Haydock last time. Stays very well. She'll probably stay further than a mile and a half. And equally Novakai, we were campaigning her early on at the mile and a quarter. That didn't quite work, so when we stepped her up to the mile and a half in the listed race at Newmarket, she absolutely bolted up. So we're throwing her in the deep end again, but she's Group 1 placed at 2, so she deserves a chance.
Yeah, 2 solid chances there for Carl Burke. They've weighed in for the Clipper Handicap. The winner, Ropey Guest, $503.50 and $123.50, $45.50 and $55.50 the placings. Fourth, number 3, Quinella, $2,933. Forecast, $5,475. The Tierce, $147,036. And the Trio, $17,966 there. QQPs, $862 for 8 and 9, 9 and 17, $1,140.50, 8 and 17, $320.50. They've weighed in for the Clipper Handicap, won by Ropey Guest for Team Margison and Tom Quealy. First 4, $86,560. Quartet's an absolute thumper. It's to a $1 unit, this. 230,826.10 there for 9, 8, 17 and 3. So fairly bumper quartet. The double, race 2 number 9 into race 3 number 9, 2,965.50. 9 into 8 consolation, $168. First double trio, race 2 you need 3, 9 and 19. The field for race 3, 1,546. So with that, there is a jackpot. $161,037 will be carried forward to tomorrow's first double trio. The race time, 1:34.87, 1:34.87 was the winner's time, ahead in the end by 1.5 lengths, ahead only by 1.5 lengths. Well, that tidies up race 3, and well done if you managed to find the winner, that's for sure. We've got some key races coming up for our feature, and it is the Yorkshire Oaks. We're going to start with the Irish Oaks as a bit of a form reference here, and Save the Last Dance.
Still in front from Lumiere Rock, opening up an advantage over Blue Stocking down the outside of Save the Last Dance. Then Azazat and Be Happy. Warm Heart Co-Rose drop right out of contention. They've still get to Library. Blue Stockings coming on the outside of Lumiere Rock. Back and forth is Save the Last Dance. Inside the final 150 yards. Library is collared by Blue Stocking, but over the top is Save the Last Dance on the outside. Save the Last Dance is winning a third Connacht Classic of the season for Ryan Moore.
Often and then Never Ending Story, and Nashwa is still at the back of the field. Blue Rose Sen went for the gap up the rail, but the door was closed by Ryan Moore on above the curve, and it's above the curve, and Al Hoosen. Blue Rose Sen has got to get out of trouble over there from Never Ending Story, and then Carnarvon, and here comes Holly. Holly's coming down the outside on Nashwa, and Nashwa really picking up, and Blue Rose Sen is imprisoned on the inside as they race down to the final furlong. Above the curve, Al Hoosen. Nashwa storming down the outside, needs to find a little bit more. Then Blue Rose Sen. They race into the closing stages. Al Hoosen from Nashwa and Blue Rose Sen, and it's Al Hoosen further Group 1 glory for Shadwell.
Making ground in between horses, then Gulu Gong. Ross Carberry's coming there very strongly on the outside. Then Emily Dickinson run for Oscar Shanakella Yashin, and out of contact is John Alexander as they pass the 2. Ross Carberry strikes the front, quickly followed by on the outside Emily Dickinson. Then comes Amusement going on from Young Ireland, and Emily Dickinson on the outside gets to Ross Carberry. Moving on from Amusement in third, it's Emily Dickinson on the stand side, getting well on top, is going to restore winning ways in the Comer Group International Connacht Cup for the big race duo of Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. To go with the Yulong Pretty Wally Stakes Trevor. Coming there one off the rail is above the curve. After them is Ross Carberry. Then Goldana staying on the stale nerd. Ahead of Never Ending Story and out wide. Starting to close is Via Sistina. Racing towards the final furlong, and they're bunching. Above the curve is tackled by Via Sistina as they get close together. Then Trevor's and stale nerd. But it's Via Sistina moving away as they run up to the finish. It's going to make the home challenge to the Yulong Pretty Wally Stakes for George.
Yeah, Via Sistina, they're actually narrowly denied at Deauville recently as well, so that Stay Alert form has certainly taken a little bit of a boost perhaps. Race 5, take up number 3, that is Modara, has come out there for Roger Varian and David Egan, so you can put a line through 3 in race number 5. But let's have a look at the record of Irish Oaks winners in this race last 8 years. So Magical Lagoon last year was 5th. Snowfall was the winner of this race. 2020 and 2019 there were no runners, and then Sea of Class a winner, Enable a winner, 7th Heaven also a winner, and Covert Love who was 2nd. So pretty handsome record really for horses that have run in the Irish Oaks. And Save the Last Dance was indeed the winner of the Irish equivalent to this race. So no surprise to see her as the odds-on favourite, but some cracking horses have won this one down through the years. None more so perhaps than Alpinista last year. What did she go on to do, I wonder? Right, runners are making their way into the parade ring. This is the big one. Let's cross back to York and rejoin John and Graham.
Thanks, Nick. Yep, looking forward to the Yorkshire Oaks, the fourth race of the day, and the feature on the card this afternoon. And the first horse we can see is horse number 1, Al Hussein, who of course won the Nassau Stakes, a rather tactical version of the Nassau Stakes, which he did it well. And of course, she beat Nash for the time before that. She's actually on a 4-timer now, this horse. She's definitely going the right way.
Not only is she on a 4-timer, I think she's won 7 of her last 8. But it's a bit like Paddington yesterday. I think that string of ones, a little misleading perhaps. I thought she got all the favours when Nashwa was 2-free at Newcastle, and I thought she got all the favours and then a few more favours when Blue Rose Sen and Nashwa both compromised their own chances in the Nassau. So she's a Group 1 winner. She's up in trip here. She is a good quality filly who knows how to win good races, but I'm not quite sure she's as good as that string of ones make her look. There are other horses at bigger prices who I think have a chance every bit as strong as hers.
Yeah, her best ever speed figure is still, would only have been good enough in one of the last 10 renewals of this race. So that does
really,
it does bear something in mind. Right, horse number 8 is Novakai, who's winner of a listed race at Newmarket over the 12 furlongs last time very easily, but was well beaten behind Blue Rose Sen at Shanty in the French Oaks prior to that. So that's an indication of maybe what this filly's capable of.
Yeah, and I think ratings come in handy in this case. She is a pretty good filly, but she's a pretty good filly rated 107, and we've got 7 or 8 fillies rated higher than her. She did the job really well at Newmarket by 5 lengths. She looked a bit awkward. There's something slightly gawky about her still. The fillies she beat, John, were all rated in the 90s.
Yeah.
This time we have 115 Al Hussein, we have 111 Free Wind, we have 112 Blue Stocking, we have 114 Save the Last Dance. You get the picture.
Yeah.
It's much tougher, and she is a little awkward off the bridle, this filly.
Okay, that's horse number 8, Novakai. William Buick aboard for Carl Burke. An interesting trainer and jockey combination there. Right, horse number 2 is Free Wind, who won at York back here at the Dante meeting, and then of course went to Ascot and very well fancied for the Hardwick Stakes. Didn't run particularly well and wasn't particularly great last time out either, albeit on heavy ground at Goodwood.
Yeah, that was a bog. It was really, really foul conditions. So let's give her a pass on that. But the problem is we need a minor pass for her very well backed but one paced 5th behind Piledriver and Company in the Hardwick. But best form, yes. And the best form this season is that Middleton win. Quite cosy in the end under Frankie, confident ride. Here at York, extended 1.25 miles. John, that form worked out a treat. Rogue Millennium, Poptronic, various other fillies have boosted that. So she is a filly with Group 1 ability if she can put it all together.
Yeah, dashed home really quickly that day as well off a very slow pace Free Wind, so she's got that classy turn of foot if is required this afternoon. This is horse number 5, Sea Silk Road, who was second in the Lancashire Oaks last time out. Oh, sorry, won the Lancashire Oaks back in... Sorry, no, won the Leicester Piggott Stakes, then was second in the Lancashire Oaks. Bit unlucky, though, because she was quite a long way behind in a slowly run race early.
Poptronic got first runner. I think she's inherently a slightly better filly than Poptronic, and I think she may well prove that today. Having said that, she needs to improve a little bit further. She is consistent. There's no question about that. She does have not a long lasting turn of foot, but she does have a change of gear. So I think I could certainly squeeze her in for 4th or 3rd. Anything better. Don't think she's quite shown that she's a sea of class who carried these colours to victory a few years ago.
Indeed, in that Free Wind race, the Middleton that we talked about, she was 6th in that, but she pulled too hard. She's been a lot less fizzy in her races subsequently, so that would be something to maybe be a positive if you fancy Sea Silk Road, horse number 5. Moving on to horse number 6, Stay Alert, who hit the line very hard at the Curragh last time out in the Pretty Polly Stakes, up to the 12 furlongs here.
Yeah, I have to have a small interest in this filly at a big price, because I know she was behind Free Wind, but she pulled too hard here in the spring, and she does have that potential to race a little too generously. Look at her in the paddock, 2 handlers, the old heads nodding up and down, and getting her settled is always the first part of the job. Oisin Murphy has that task today, but she comes here on the back of an unlucky and excellent career best second behind Via Sistina in the Pretty Polly, over 1.25 miles in Ireland. She gets the 1.5 miles. I hope she gets a good gallop to run at. She'll be smuggled into the race, hopefully, and there are a few here who you can make a case for at prices, and she's one of them.
Excellent cap with the handler there on the right as we look at them as well. Yeah, excellent tit for tat indeed. We wait now to horse number 7, Blue Stocking, who was second behind Save the Last Dance, chinned on the line by Save the Last Dance in the Irish Oaks, and third in the Ribblesdale prior to that.
Yeah, there are a few I'm with here, and there are a few I'm not against, but I'm not wholly convinced. I do like this filly, certainly as a place contender. She's had a couple of cracks at Warm Heart and come up a bit short, but they were both good efforts. She's had a crack at Save the Last Dance in the Irish Oaks, and for all the world it looked like she was going to win until Ryan remotivated Save the Last Dance. There's precious little between that pair on form. I have an inkling Blue Stocking might be cut from the right cloth for this ground a little bit more than Save the Last Dance.
Yes, Stall 1 might be able to take up a decent position in a race where there's not a huge amount of pace, so Blue Stocking is
Warm Heart, I think, is the likely front runner for me, John.
Yeah, and but after that I'm not too sure there's going to be a huge amount, so I think she might be nicely positioned from stall 1. That is Blue Stocking. Moving on to Save the Last Dance, who is a very interesting filly. When she won the Cheshire Oaks, beating There's the Door by 22 lengths, and There's the Door's done pretty well with the form subsequently. A lot of people were very taken with that performance because it was incredible from a sectional perspective late doors. Then she was beaten in the Oaks by Soul Sister, who was a very, very good filly in her own right, and of course she produced that late surge to win the Irish Oaks, albeit on soft ground. I really worry about the surface for her today, though.
I'm concerned. Apparently Aidan O'Brien is persuaded, convinced that this is a better filly than Warm Heart. She looked it in the Irish Oaks, but it's unusual, John, for a horse who handles deep ground as well as she does to be every bit as good, if not better, on genuinely fast ground, which is what she gets. It looks like she's filling out a bit. She was quite spare and unfurnished early in the season, but I'm concerned that having to accelerate on fast ground, she might just feel it. Could be wrong. You know, we all have to take these chances from time to time. She is a proven Group 1 winner. She's a classic winner. And classic winners, as Nick pointed out, tended to do pretty well in this race. I'm thinking of Enable and Snowfall and plenty others. But in terms of ground conditions, this is a significantly different surface than she encountered at Chester or at the Curragh last time, when at the Curragh 2 minutes 43.11 of a grind on deep ground.
Here's Warm Heart, the Ribblesdale Stakes winner, of course, 5th behind Save the Last Dance on that very soft ground at the Curragh. She got into good position in the Ribblesdale because it was a front runner's race that day, so she'd probably go forward here as well.
Yeah, I thought she was ridden in the Irish Oaks as if the ground was a concern. And I think it probably was in the end, because she never really promised to land a significant blow. But at Newbury, when she beat Blue Stocking, and at Ascot, when she beat Blue Stocking, she was right on the pace from start to finish. I won't say she bolted up in the Ribblesdale at Ascot, but she won it really well. And on that form, she's entitled to give a really bold sight here. Want to see her go forward. If she does, she should run an honest race today.
Right, moving on to Ross Carberry, who I really like in this spot. I thought ran a really good race at Cork when beating Azazat, who I quite fancied in the Gold Trace, but she hasn't turned up for that. Then got knocked around, of course, in that Pretty Polly Stakes at the Curragh 2 starts ago. The Emily Dickinson run was a pretty good effort in a slowly run race early doors. I like this filly's form when she gets to 12 furlongs and fast ground, and she's got both today.
Yeah, the one thing I like about her, first of all, it's a consistency. She seldom runs anything other than a good race. But this Paddy Toomey, up-and-coming Irish trainer, he's a very good feel for what's the right race. And for a little while now, he's known that Save the Last Dance, Warm Heart, Blue Stocking will come here. But he's been quietly confident that this is the race to bring out the very best in her. It needs to, because she was behind Stay Alert, badly bumped around, just as Stay Alert was in the Pretty Polly. But she is a smooth traveller. She should be suited by these conditions, and she is one of those 3 or 4 that I would warm to here. And the 3 or 4 I like are not necessarily the 3 or 4 at the top of the market.
Yeah, she's an interesting contender. I think she's quite a big price as well. Now we can hear from Aidan O'Brien, who of course saddles Save the Last Dance and Warm Heart in this race. Be fascinating to hear what he thinks.
Aidan, firstly, you've got a horse called Warm Heart here. There were some magical bits and bobs on Twitter yesterday with you, with the kids and people straight after Paddington's defeat. I thought that was fantastic of you.
And listen, it was great to be here, and lovely people here. Great to see.
You were like a rock star.
No, listen, it Well, delighted to be here, Matt, so it's a great,
You're honestly like racing's Michael Jackson. It was extraordinary. Right, let's have a talk about this. Save the Last Dance. Big question is the ground. How worried are you?
Yeah, she handles soft ground, obviously, but has run on fast ground and comes off of the ground very well. She is never anyway jarred or anything, but obviously we do know on soft ground she's a bit better than most. But she's some very good form on good to firm ground as well.
And Warm Heart was really good in the Ribblesdale. She never really got involved in the Irish Oaks. Would you expect more here?
We think so, yeah. She'll be maybe a little bit more forward today. The ground will suit her better. She got back a little bit in the Irish Oaks and slowly run race on slowish ground probably didn't suit her, so conditions might suit her better today.
And you got James Dorr. I don't think James has ever ridden a winner for you, has he?
Yeah, no, he's ridden plenty for us. A great fella, but he has ridden plenty for us, Matt, yes.
Big opportunity, though.
No, listen, we're delighted to have him.
It's not every day you ride for Michael Jackson. Well done.
No, thanks, Matt. Thanks very much.
Slightly left field interview there from Mr. Chapman, but he has his own way of doing things, doesn't he?
He does. I thought we'd cancel Michael Jackson, but there you go. Can he beat it? That's the question, with either Warm Heart or Save the Last Dance. There is a question over Save the Last Dance. Put simply, let's try and nutshell this race, John, before we compare the market. On BHA numbers, and they're a reasonably good metric, there are 7 fillies rated within £5 of each other here.
Yeah.
So it is incredibly tight. In years gone by, we've had, if not dominant fillies, then proven elite Group 1 fillies. We've got a couple of Group 1 winners in this race who won Group 1s on their recent start, but they're rated 115 and 114. 120 is normally your rating for an elite Group 1 winner. And if you have a look at the Roll of Honour, and it's a rich Roll of Honour. Alpinista last year, 7-4 favourite. Snowfall, the Oaks winner the year before, 8-15 favourite. Love, the Oaks winner the year before, 4-9 favourite. Enable, the year before, a dual arc winner who's 1-4, bounded clear of Magical. Small field, that was a good race. Sea of Class was getting very good when she won this race. She was unlucky not to beat Enable in the arc. Enable won in 2017. You get the picture. This has been dominated by genuinely elite fillies who were short prices. Here we have a very open market, and it makes it a compelling betting puzzle. And after all that detail about why this is a very open race, we can now reflect on the market, John, and let's try and see how the Whirlpool is shaping up in comparison to the market here. Race 4 on the York card. We're halfway through day 2. Al Hussein is 9. Whirlpool punters clearly or seem to agree with me that she might not be quite as good as that string of ones cracks her up to be.
Yeah, very shrewd Hong Kong punters. 6-1 Al Hussein.
Free win 7.8. That's not a bad price if she's right.
5-1.
Poptronic is 39.
25-1.
Ross Carberry's 18 and back to big odds.
12-1.
Sea Silk Road 22.
14-1.
Stay Albert, correction. Stay Alert 23.
14-1.
That's a big price. Stay Alert. Blue Stocking is 5.8.
4-1.
Novakai is 10.
11-1.
Save the Last Dance. I think the phrase is not for me, Clive. 2.1 in the Whirlpool market.
100 to 30 years.
Haven't seen a discrepancy like that in a Group 1 race for a while, have we?
No.
It's a Ryan Moore and Aiden thing. And Warm Heart, and do not discount this filly, is 12.
9-1.
Okay, I'm going fairly wide here. I'm going to go Stay Alert, Blue Stocking, Ross Carberry, and Free Wind here, and I'm taking my life in my hands. I'm opposing the Group 1 winners, Al Hussein and Save the Last Dance. I just think it's a wide open race, and there is mileage in one or two at bigger prices here.
Yep, I'm going to go with Ross Carberry winning place. I think she's a decent value bet in this race as well. And she's run a figure which is commensurate, in fact, slightly better than what's normally required to win this race. And she's done most of her best work at 1.5 miles the trip which she gets today. So she will do for me on top. Save the Last Dance is interesting. That point about the ground. She was second in the Oaks at Epsom on ground described as good to firm. But it was a sort of slightly stop-start race, won in very good fashion by Soul Sister, who was quite a long way behind in the early stages. So Soul Sister probably got an upgrade for that. But if Aidan O'Brien was here and wants to argue she likes fast ground, he can definitely point to that. But all her very best form has definitely been on the soft. Last couple going in. Stuart Machin.
1 to go. And Poptronic moving into stall 7 completes the line. They're off. The Pertemps Network, Yorkshire Oaks with 1.5 miles ahead of them. Nova Kai in the yellow and black spots got out well. So too, Save the Last Dance, the dark blue silks for Ryan Moore, helping to push the early pace along. With Warm Heart in a pink jacket, a Poptronic out wide, the red cap, and Blue stocking closer to the running rail, the pink cap, as they go along at around about 37 miles an hour through the first quarter mile. And Save the Last Dance is dictating here and leads them into the first turn. To Poptronic shading second, Nova Kai in a spotted jacket racing in third. And then Warm Heart in the pink silks just shading fourth. To Blue stocking up the fence, Ross Carberry, maroon silk sitting back in midfield. Ahead of Al Hoosen, the striped cap, the Shadwell silks. Frankie aboard the white-faced mare Free Wind, racing with a couple behind at this stage. Sea Silk Road in the yellow and purple is one of them. And Stay Alert in the yellow and blue looks on from last place. Heading down past the 7, being led at an even sort of a pace here by Ryan Moore aboard Save the Last Dance. To Poptronic and Nova Kai the running rail, and then Warm Heart to Blue stocking in the Juddmonte silks as they begin the turn at halfway. Ross Carberry in a maroon jacket is out wide from Al Hoosen. White-faced Free Wind in the hands of Frankie Dettori, still with Sea Silk Road and Stay Alert for company at the rear of the field. They're on the crown of the bend with 5 furlongs left to cover in the Pertemps Network Yorkshire Oaks, and they're still nudging 36, 37 miles an hour. They were around 12 seconds for the last furlong. Save the Last Dance leads them in, and at this stage is staying close to the inside running rail. Poptronic, the red cap, shaken up in second as Moore now asks Save the Last Dance for more in front. Blue stocking in the Juddmonte silks, white sleeves, pink cap making headway. So too Warm Heart, who comes there travelling powerfully in a pink jacket. Al Hoosen away to the left, Ross Carberry second from the left. Blue stocking trying to thread through. Save the Last Dance, challenged by her stablemate Warm Heart, who's come there looking a real threat. Then Blue stocking. Here's Frankie on Free Wind, beginning to run on from the rear aboard the white-faced mare as Warm Heart goes to the front inside the furlong. Frankie coming over the top. Is this another Frankie special? Free Wind drawing alongside Warm Heart, who's digging in very gamely. Inches either way. Desperately close between Warm Heart and Free Wind at the end of the Yorkshire Oaks. Save the Last Dance back in third, chased home by Blue stocking and Stay Alert.
Well, wasn't that quite the race? And I've got a sneaky suspicion that James Doyle has managed to land this Group 1 pot. It's very close, but on that evidence, Warm Heart has won, has beaten Free Wind into second, Save the Last Dance third, Blue stocking back in behind, and Sea Silk Road looks to have finished fifth. There is Aidan O'Brien receiving the congratulations from Derek Smith and co. And this winner of the Ribblesdale, she was fifth behind stablemate Save the Last Dance last time in Ireland, but she's reversed that form this time around. And James Doyle, usually in royal blue, but not today. He's in the colours of the Coolmore Partners, and he gets a Group 1.
They're off. The Pertemps Network, Yorkshire Oaks with 1.5 miles ahead of them. Nova Kai in the yellow and black spots got out well. So too, Save the Last Dance, the dark blue silks for Ryan Moore, helping to push the early pace along. With Warm Heart in a pink jacket, a Poptronic out wide, the red cap, and Blue stocking closer to the running rail, the pink cap, as they go along at around about 37 miles an hour through the first quarter mile. And Save the Last Dance is dictating here and leads them into the first turn. To Poptronic shading second, Nova Kai in a spotted jacket racing in third. And then Warm Heart in the pink silks just shading fourth. To Blue stocking up the fence, Ross Carberry, maroon silk sitting back in midfield. Ahead of Al Hoosen, the striped cap, the Shadwell silks. Frankie aboard the white-faced mare Free Wind, racing with a couple behind at this stage. Sea Silk Road in the yellow and purple is one of them. And Stay Alert in the yellow and blue looks on from last place. Heading down past the 7, being led at an even sort of a pace here by Ryan Moore aboard Save the Last Dance. To Poptronic and Nova Kai the running rail, and then Warm Heart to Blue stocking in the Juddmonte silks as they begin the turn at halfway. Ross Carberry in a maroon jacket is out wide from Al Hoosen. White-faced Free Wind in the hands of Frankie Dettori, still with Sea Silk Road and Stay Alert for company at the rear of the field. They're on the crown of the bend with 5 furlongs left to cover in the Attempts Network Yorkshire Oaks, and they're still nudging 36, 37 miles an hour. They were around 12 seconds for the last furlong. Save the Last Dance leads them in, and at this stage is staying close to the inside running rail. Poptronic, the red cap, shaken up in second as Moore now asks Save the Last Dance for more in front. Blue stocking in the Juddmonte silks. White sleeves, pink cap making headway. So too Warm Heart, who comes there travelling powerfully in a pink jacket. Al Hooson away to the left. Ross Carberry second from the left. Blue stocking trying to thread through. Save the Last Dance, challenged by her stablemate Warm Heart, who's come there looking a real threat. Then Blue stocking. Here's Frankie on Free Wind beginning to run on from the rear aboard the white-faced mare as Warm Heart goes to the front inside the furlong. Frankie coming over the top. Is this another Frankie special? Free Wind drawing alongside Warm Heart, who's digging in very gamely. Inches either way. Desperately close between Warm Heart and Free Wind.
Terrific finish, but as you can see on the screen there, Warm Heart's just got the job done over Free Wind. A terrific finish, always travelling very well. We're talking about the tactics of this, Graham, how Warm Heart might lead and sort of set things up for Save the Last Dance, but the opposite has been the case.
Yeah, and the speedier filly has beaten the stayer. 25.43, 24.28, 24.6, 24.08. But Save the Last Dance cannot run any faster than that. And when it comes to acceleration, she can just gallop on. She does so willingly for an honest third. Frankie Dettori, I got the impression that he might just have thought that he was on the whip limit and didn't go full on late on, but Warm Heart, who travelled beautifully, this is great news for James Doyle, what a day for him, has just coaxed enough from Warm Heart to win. She's had a really good season, Warm Heart, but today I think, John, we'd both agree she was better equipped to handle the fast ground than her stablemate Save the Last Dance.
Yeah, and I think Save the Last Dance will almost certainly be going a bit further in time, but interesting finish here. Free Wind looming alongside Warm Heart. Warm Heart did just gravitate slightly towards the centre of the track, but there's no
contact.
Obvious interference there, no, but it was a very close finish, not a lot in it, and well, Matt Chapman was very keen to point out that James Doyle's record is apparently not very good for Ballydoyle, but he's got the job done there in no uncertain terms.
Yeah.
And Warm Heart, with obviously, like to Save the Last Dance, the 3-year-old allowance has done well.
Actually, they did nudge, John, but it was just after the line.
Yeah.
So that's academic. So no harm, no foul. If you had the foresight to back Warm Heart, she has obliged, and she is a worthy winner. Free Wind has come right back to form. I think the handicapper will take her, rated 115 as the metric for this race. In behind, Seasick Road, Blue Stocking run pretty well. The rest didn't look genuine Group 1 fillies beforehand. The disappointment perhaps Al Husson, but I think time is going to show that her Group 1 win at Goodwood has an element of fool's gold about it.
Yeah, she was well positioned in the slowly run race, and she had a real strong gallop to aim at here, and she couldn't do it. James Doyle, a victorious jockey, and here he is.
A first winner for Aidan O'Brien, James, and what a way to do it. So gutsy.
Yeah, she was super, wasn't she? I mean, the race couldn't have panned out any better. I was able to just ride a waiting race from a handy pitch. Didn't have the greatest of draws. We had a bit of work on early, but after going a furlong, I thought, this is good. And the race went nice. We went a nice, honest pace. Ryan quite rightly wanted to keep it nice and even. We travelled super. My only worry was getting there too soon. We know, speaking to Aidan beforehand, he said try and challenge at the furlong pole. I think a furlong and a half out, so I'm glad we hung on when I felt Frankie come to me. I thought, but no, she's super tough. She dug in. She was absolutely foot perfect. Jumped well from the gates, relaxed super, and showed a good kick and the tenacity to fight off Frankie on Free Wind. So I had a very willing partner. So great.
Well done. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to grab word with Hazel, because when Warm Heart won the Ribbles there at Ascot, Ryan announced to the world that you were retiring at the end of this year. Well, Warm Heart was listening, because she's now given you a Group 1 to lead in here at York. How special is this?
Oh, very special. Any win is a good special.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people involved now, not just me, but it's nice.
No, I know, but you're a
Nice
huge
to
part of
read in.
it. You've been at Ballydoyle for 21 years. How much are you going to miss it?
Oh, I'd say, not at the minute, but I'd say when I go, I will. Sure, I've been there that long.
I tell you what, Frankie Dettori's got a farewell tour. This is your moment, Hazel. Lap it up. Well done.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, well done. I remember Hazel, actually, from when this filly won the Ribblesdale, and Ryan had obviously announced her retirement, but maybe she'll prolong that retirement now after this Group 1 win. But 21 years at Ballydoyle, would have seen some very good horses pass through the stable there, that's for sure. Well done to Hazel. Well done to all the team. James Doyle, that was his 11th ride for Aidan O'Brien. His first winner, and it's a Group 1, so certainly one that will be remembered. Of that, there is no doubt. But Aidan with a first and a third here, and Warm Heart, too good. Interestingly enough, having a look at her pedigree, she had a mare called Sea Siren, who was trained in Australia originally by John O'Shea. Actually ran 9th by Lord Kinaloa in the 2012 international sprint here at Shartin. So just an interesting angle on the pedigree there. She's now produced a Group 1 winner of the Yorkshire Oaks, $122.29. The runner-up there was number 2, Free Wind, at $22.50. Third, number 9, Save the Last Dance, at $15.50. And fourth, number 7, and that was Blue Stocking. Quinella, $427.50. Forecast, $853. The Tierce, $2,746. The Trio, $208. 2 and 10, QQP, $114.50. 9 and 10, $49.50. 2 and 9, $45.50. Just awaiting the weighed-in signal to come through there. First 4, 244 on the first 4, 2, 7, 9 and 10. And the quartet, if you got them in the correct order, led home by number 10. It's 11,387, 10, 2, 9, 7, 10, 2, 9 and 7. So there is Warm Heart making her way back to the racecourse stable. She's trained by Aidan O'Brien. It's another Group 1 for the Master of Ballydoyle. Let's hear from him very shortly on the back of this Yorkshire Oaks success.
Great race. And this horse, as we said beforehand, she looked really good in the Riversdale. Never got involved in the Irish Oaks. She looked good again today.
Yeah, it just didn't happen in the Irish Oaks. The ground was a little bit on the slower side, and she was a little bit slowly away and got back in a slowly run race, Matt. But she was lovely today. Jamie was over the moon with her, done a wonderful job with her. Hazel led her up. Rachel rides her out and rides her in all her work, and everyone around the whole team done a wonderful job with her. So delighted. She's a very classy filly. We saw what she did in the Ribbonsdale. Her only little blip was the Irish Oaks, and there was reasons for it, but her work had been lovely, Matt, so over the moon really.
Big day for James Dorr. I know you know James, obviously a world-class jockey. He's had some of the biggest jobs in the game, but it was a little bit rare for you to turn to him. Can you just tell us the thinking behind that?
Yeah, no, he always rode for his Matt whenever he was available. Obviously, he's not available very much. Listen, obviously, like I said, a world-class rider, lovely fella. But he's ridden some great races for us, a lot of very high-class horses, you know.
And moving forward, you'll be delighted with Save the Last Dance on this ground, I imagine, as well. Where do you go with these two now?
Well, obviously Save the Last Dance handles an ease very well, and she's probably better with an ease. This filly handles this ground very well and even quicker, so it's not a problem with her. She can do anything. She can go to France. She could end up in a Breeders' Cup, filly's turf. Save the Last.
Could both of them be St Ledger horses? Is there any chance? Like if it was soft, Save the Last Dance. If it looked like being good to firm, Warm Heart.
Yeah, I suppose Save the Last Dance. It depends on what the lads want to do with her. Do they want to go straight arc with her, or a Ledger? The Ledger's only 2 weeks before the arc, so it's a little bit close. This filly, I don't think I think 1 mile and 4 is as far as she probably wants to go, and you kind of have to ride her to get that. She has a little bit of pace, waits a little bit when she gets there, but I don't think she'll be a Ledger filly, but Save the Last Dance could be if the lads decide to do that, but they have other horses to come, so it'll be depending on whatever they want to do, really.
Tell you what, the lads are loving it over here, getting their photos taken in. Yes. Finally, can I just ask you 2 very quick questions? We've not heard anything about August Rodin recently. Is he coming back?
Yes, yeah, he's on the Champion Stakes programme, Irish Champion Stakes. Very happy with him. Everything is going lovely with him so far.
And we might see last season's star stayer Kyprios?
Yes, he's getting back. Whether he'll be ready for a run in the Ledger, he's definitely ready at that time, but whether he would be ready for a run of that calibre, we're not sure, but everything is going really well so far, so we're going slowly with him.
Yesterday the people were after you, Aidan. They're clapping, they want you. O'Brien, absolute superstar here at York. Well done.
Yeah, appreciate it, Matt. Thanks very much.
Yes, Aidan O'Brien as appreciative as ever. They have weighed in for the Yorkshire Oaks. Another Yorkshire Oaks going to Ballydoyle. They've had a really good run in this race. 122 and 29 the winner. The runner-up 22.50, third 15.50 and fourth number 7. The Quinella 427.50. The forecast 853. The Tierce 2,746, the Trio 208, and the QQP 2 and 10 114.50, 9 and 10 49.50, and 2 and 9 45.50. They've weighed in for the Yorkshire Oaks. The first four 244 for 2, 7, 9 and 10. 11,387 for the quartet, 10, 2, 9 and 7. The double, race 3 number 9, race 4 number 10, 3,767.50. Consolation 9 into 2, $465. 2 minutes 25.86. 2 minutes 25.86 was the winner's time there. And the margins were ahead by 2 1/4. Ahead by 2 1/4 in the Yorkshire Oaks. Snowfall, Love, Seventh Heaven, all winners trained by Aidan O'Brien in this race. Peeping Fawn further back along with Alexandrova as well. So they've done pretty well in this race down through the years, and the Coolmore partners going up to collect the trophy. Derek Smith and Michael Tabor, a couple of the owners of Warm Heart here, who raced in the pink colours, the second set of silks of Mr. and Mrs. John Magnier, the navy blue being the first set, the pink being the second set. I remember years ago, I think they were purchased when sort of, those bespoke sort of racing silks were proving quite popular and going to auction and things, and I'm sure there was a lot of money paid for the all pink silks, and a number of good horses have raced. And of course this horse owned by Mrs. John Magnier, Michael Table, Derek Smith and Westerberg, the owners of the majority of the horses now trained in Ballydor. But she's by Galileo out of Sea Siren, who was very smart, and she was bred at Coolmore, and I'm sure she'll be breeding many a good foal going forward herself. Right, let's move on to the Galtree Stakes. It's over the same course and distance. Murakana, Robbie Colgan, drawn 9. Making Me Do It, Hallie Turner, drawn 1. Take out the 3, Mudara has come out. One Evening, Ryan Moore, drawn 7. Trigoni is Safi Osborne, drawn 11. Bright Diamond, Clifford Lee, in 12. Climate Friendly, Neil Callan, drawn 4. 8 is LeMay for Kieran Schumacher, drawn 6. Market Value, William Buick, in 10. Scenic, Oisin Murphy, drawn 3. Sea Theme is Tom Marquand, in 2. Spring Fever, Frankie Dettori, in 13. Take out 13, There's the Door, has been withdrawn. So a couple of absentees in this race. Brings us down to a field of 11. And we can very shortly go through the details for this race. There is the presentation. James Doyle collecting his prize, and he doesn't have a ride in this next race, does he, James? So he'll be sitting this one out, but rides Ballon d'Or in the penultimate, coming up for Hugo Palmer in that 2-year-old contest. Well, Sea Theme is the favourite here. Mightily impressive last time. William Haggis, Tom Marquand teaming up. They've already had a winner today of the Lauva. Let's have a look and see how she won last time.
Inside the final furlong and a half they come. Cherry to the near side, far side Sea Theme and Sabriel looking for a big shock. Near side they go to the final furlong. On the far side Sea Theme, Cherry battling away between horses. Sabriel now back in third. Sea Theme driven out by Tom Marquand, has got a length and a half to spare of a Cherry, and she's not stopping. Sea Theme in front as they race up towards the line. Sea Theme will win for William Haggis and Tom Marquand. Cherry for second, Sabriel third, Shoutpile in fourth in front.
Extreme right, Akita Sushi's keeping on in behind Ajero. The grey Haunted Dream is trying to thread a passage. Live Your Dream is being clawed back. HMS President White Jacket moving through. Here's Ryan Moore over the top on Akita Sushi, beginning to power home inside the furlong. Akita Sushi, HMS President from the rear. White Wolf is running on with Ajero. Akita Sushi nosing ahead from HMS President. 5 on the week for more. Akita Sushi
now shaken up as Heavenly Breath makes her bid. Perfect Profit is sticking around. Star Fortress travelling really well on the near side as they come down inside the final quarter mile. Novakai over on the far side. Star Fortress between them is Heavenly Breath as they race down towards the dip here on the near side. Cloudbreaker's trying to get a blow in as well. Novakai though is clear up the hill inside the final furlong. She's up by about 3 lengths of favourite, being kept up to her work, and she's powering clear in the closing stages. Novakai just having her sights lowered today slightly. He's too classy in the Aphrodite. Goes on to win well. Cloudbreaker second, Star Fortress.
So they were the key races. I think you'd agree. Sea Theme was very impressive last time out, and understandably is very popular in this race. A race in which Frankie Dettori's actually won 7 times. He rides Spring Fever in this year's renewal of the race. Second double trio jackpot, 276,695 here. Gets going with this race. 5 and 6 the races needed. Sea Theme is the favourite on the World Pool. 3.1. Messrs Marquand and Haggis looking for a double. Graham and John, it's over to you.
Yeah, welcome back. Paddock side, well, not quite paddock side, but nearly paddock side here at York. And this is race number 5 on day 2, and it is the Goltras Stakes, which is over the same track and distance as the previous race, the Yorkshire Oaks. It's for fillies as well. It's only a listed race, though, for 3-year-olds and upwards. Horse number 1, Graham, is Morikana, who was 5th behind Okita Sushi in a very well-contested Duke of Edinburgh Stakes at Royal Ascot, and was probably deserving, having won a listed race back at Cork, position from that gate. Was 3rd last time out behind a horse called State Occasion at Salisbury. Was 7th of 7 in a listed race behind Al Hussein prior to that.
Yeah, the air performance behind Al Hussein was no good. It was well below her best, but she was given a little break. She had 84 days off the track. It was much more like it at Salisbury. She didn't take a while to get going. So that was 1.25 miles, and therefore she might be worth a dig over 1.5 miles here. She was staying on strongly late in the piece on a stiff track at Salisbury. So let's see how she goes on what is her 1.5 mile debut today.
Horse number 2, Making Me Do It. We've got a couple of non-runners, Madara and There's the Door. So we move on now to horse number 4, One Evening, who I like here, Graham. Stumbled badly out the gates at Pontefract, and that really didn't help her. She likes to front run, and she did front run to pretty good effect over the 14 furlongs, 1.6 miles here prior to that, and was only getting tired in the very late stages of that race. Ryan Moore riding for John and Thady Gosden. I think hopefully if she gets out the gates, will be ridden prominently, and that will suit her down to the ground.
Yeah, it might do. I cooled on her a bit. I liked her as well, and I went back and revisited her Pontefract run when she was a bit unlucky, and I sort of tapered it down a little bit. I'm not saying she can't run well. She's a 97 rated filly in a race that's shy on proven group race performers. So let's see how she goes. Ryan Moore gets the leg up from John and Thady.
Yeah, he certainly is a very eye-catching booking there. Now we move to horse number 5 at Tregony, who's got stall 11 to emerge from. Safi Osborne for Clive Cox. 3rd in a handicap at Windsor last time. Had been running into the Class 3 handicaps, running with a degree of merit. This is a big step up in class, though.
I think so. She's a pretty reliable filly. That's a plus point for her. She was certainly running consistently well as she made her way through the handicaps last season. She's now rated 90 though, John. She ran very well in a decent Windsor handicap last time behind a very progressive horse called Spirit Dancer, who runs here at the weekend. But that makes her, as things stand, a 90 filly, and we've got down the card 97, 100, 97, 97, 93, 93, 98. In other words, plenty on form who stack up a little bit ahead of Tregony here.
Horse number 6 is Bright Diamond, who was 6th in the Lingfield Oaks trial, a race that hasn't worked out particularly, 5th. But then went on to finish 5th in the Oaks itself behind Soul Sister, but then it wasn't a very good race at all, or run at all behind Al Hussein in that Hoppings Filly Stakes. But of course, Al Hussein beat below par Nashwa.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Oaks itself was that deep a race last year, and she was beaten a dozen lengths, but that was okay. The 9th of 9 in the Hopping Stakes behind Al Hussein and Nashwa was not. So she has a point to prove after that. She comes back to the grass from the synthetic of Newcastle, but it's a bit patchy, that record. Promising at 2, okay at Lingfield in what wasn't a good race, okay at Epsom, then a step backwards last time.
This is Climate Friendly, horse number 7, who was 3rd in the listed race at Newmarket when last seen over this 12 furlongs. Been running at this trip for quite some time now. It wasn't a bad effort, albeit in the slowly run race. Rating of 93, Neil Callan aboard for Jane Chapel High.
Yeah, by Frankel, who gave us the first 2, Mostadaf and Nashwa, in yesterday's big race. She's not fully exposed, this Frankel filly, because she's only had 7 runs. 2 starts ago, not that flash behind Novakai at Newmarket. 3 starts ago, respectable behind Warm Heart, whatever happened to her in the Ribblesdale. And last time out, that's perhaps the key piece of form. They put on cheek pieces for the first time. She ran a very respectable race in listed company. No, she wouldn't have to improve a great deal more to get into the minor money here.
Okay, that's horse number 7, Climate Friendly. The 8 is El May, who was 4th behind Novakai last time out in a listed race at Newmarket. Novakai's just run, of course, in the Yorkshire Oaks. 8th behind Warm Hearts in the Ribblesdale. So again, it's solid enough form, but whether she's good enough to win a listed race is open to debate.
I agree, but we must reiterate, this is not a deep renewal of the Goltra Stakes. Several, as you know, the fillies we like came out at the 48-hour stage. At least one more you could fancy has come out today. So the bar is not set as high as normal. That said, El May needs to do a bit better. She ran respectably behind Novakai. She had Climate Friendly behind her that day. But that rating, is it 93 for El May?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be good enough in a race like this. You should need to have to top the 100 barrier to win this.
Now, moving on to horse number 11, we'll hopefully come back to 9 and 10 shortly, but 11 Sea Theme is interesting in the sense represents William Haggis and Tom Markand. Didn't do a huge amount on debut at Salisbury. Doncaster run, albeit on soft ground, was quite good against the clock, but we just really don't know yet whether this filly's up to listed class, but they've obviously decided to give it a go here and roll the dice.
Yeah, and Haggis has a couple here, and Marquand rides Sea Theme rather than the Royal Filly Market Value. It's about potential with Sea Theme. He loves him some See the Stars, William Haggis. He really loves that sire. Not just Baaeed, Storm the Stars, who won the Voltager in these colours. He loves the stallion. And she's the unknown quantity. I think she's by far the least exposed runner on view. She looked a really likeable, strong stayer in winning a middling race at Doncaster. Market's spoken well for her, and it bears repeating. The bar for this Sir Henry Cecil Galtra Stakes is not set at, how shall we say, unbeatable levels, because it has a patchy look the entire race.
Spring Fever, horse number 12. Frankie Dettori rides this one for John and Thady Gosden, not one evening. But I've looked at this horse's form and can't find anything that would say that she's a definite winner of a listed race.
No, I would agree under normal circumstances, but we're saying the same sort of comment about a few of these, and at least one of them will hit the board here. It could be this filly. She has a win in a handicap from 85, and it was a wide margin win. But then it was ordinary or okay next time in a handicap, and okay in a listed race at Newmarket last time. So apologies if quite a few of these seem to be in the same bracket based on our comments, but that's how they come off the page.
Last two horses, we just saw Scenic going down there briefly and Market Value. Quickly on Scenic, it was quite a good run in a listed race here back in July off a strong gallop, 80-1, so completely outran market expectation there as well.
I think she'll run well at a price here. She's a well-bred filly. She's only had half a dozen runs. She ran well at Newbury behind Warm Heart and Blue Stocking. She didn't run badly when sent to France for a listed race, and she ran really well. In fact, clearly her best performance last time here at York, 10.5 furlongs, staying on really willingly down the outside. So I think there's good evidence to think that this filly will come on again over the longer trip. And given that I don't think this is a super deep race, I think I'd have to slide her in as a place contender, this filly.
Yep, she's on a minor line for me, and we also saw an important horse as far as Scenic's chances are concerned, which is Market Value, who has a bit to find in terms of ability and ratings, but she does go forward. I think she's the likely leader of this race.
Yeah, and she's very low mileage. By Siuni, trained by Haggis, owned by the King and Queen. Salute to Charles and Camilla. Just the 4 runs, second, and a good second in a handicap last time, but numbers are important. It was from a mark of just 82, and 82 is not buttering any Galtras parsnips here, John.
Well, indeed. A marvellous turn of phrase.
You've got an interview. It's not Charles and Camilla, is it?
No, it's John Warren. We've got the next best thing. Here he is, the representative of Her Majesty.
The representatives on earth.
Yes.
Well, of course, coming up in our next race, Market Value is in the colours of His Majesty the King and Queen, and John Warren, the racing manager for the royal family. John, Market Value should have a very solid each-way chance, you think?
I think she's working very well. This is her first time over this trip, and considering she's out of Estimate, who won 2.5 miles, we have every reason to think that she should stay well. She's a little bit keen, so William decided to keep her back in trip for a mile and a quarter up until now, but she's growing up, maturing, and she's working very, very well. So I'd be surprised if she doesn't put up a pretty bold show today. I think she's quite an interesting filly.
Are we still on target for a royal runner in the St Ledger at Doncaster with Desert Hero?
Yep, very much so. Yep. again, William reported very happy. In fact, he did a little piece this morning and went very...
Might go to Australia for the Melbourne Cup. This is exciting.
Well, I think at the moment it's all eyes on the St. Leger and trying to learn in the St. Leger. And not many, if hardly any, thoroughbreds are bred to stay 2 miles. So they're all in the same boat about trying to find trips out. But I think we'll learn from the Leger whether or not he looks like a genuine horse to get 2 miles. Wherever he finishes, I mean, if he finishes the first 4, he could still qualify as a lovely horse to stay. But he does have plenty of toe about him. He's a really enthusiastic horse, as you know. So he'll put in his best shot. We know that. But I think, the Leger is first step, and then fingers crossed, if that goes well, then very much all roads to Australia to take on Melbourne Cup.
Thanks for talking to us.
Okay, thanks, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, thinking of races in the future, that'll be going on for World Pool simulcast punters, the Melbourne Cup with Desert Hero.
Put it on record right now, John. I'm available to do that World Pool simulcast. Call me. You know who to call. But no, it's interesting, fascinating. But you touched on it off there just now. The better Desert Hero runs at York, the more weight he's likely to have at Melbourne. And for a 3-year-old to win that race with what could effectively be a Group 1 horse's weight would be very difficult. But it's a really sporting chance. It does not pay to get ahead of yourself. He's got to do the right thing in the St. Leger. Here, it seems there is some confidence behind market value. She is unexposed. She is also, bears repeating, as things stand, lowest rated horse in this race.
She is, and the time figures are nothing to write home about either. So you would, for me, it's a bit of a leap of faith. Well, yes, bit of a leap of faith for me, but clearly 1 or 2 punters are getting it. Interesting, C Theme's been quite heavily backed here in this country, Graham. The very clear favourite now, 5-2. I don't know what it is in the World Pool.
Likewise, 2.7, even shorter in the World Pool. So shall we go down the market?
Yeah.
There are a few here who might be overs. Moricana, number 1, is 15.
10-1.
Overs. Making Me Do It is being backed at 17.
11-1.
Overs. Madara Scratch, one evening is 5.8.
6-1 here.
So Ryan Morthang. Trigoni is 23.
16-1.
Few overs here. Bright Diamond is 31.
22.
Climate Friendly is 19.
28-1.
El May is 27.
17-2.
Market value 5.6.
9-1 here in the UK. It's the unders.
It's a royal thing. It's a Haggis and Buick thing. Scenic is 11.
7-1.
Overs. Few overs here. Sea Theme 2.7 as mentioned. Spring Fever is 8.
13-2.
Head scratcher this. Some races you have a feel for and you'll either be right or wrong, and you're happy to pay up if you are wrong because you had a strong opinion. Cannot say I have a strong opinion here. I really can't. I am absolutely understanding of the potential of Sea Theme, but it's not my type of bet to take 2.6 about a lightly raced filly who might be really good and might be a 90 filly.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 1 evening here. Not with a huge amount of confidence, but if she can get away well, I think she might be tough to get past and certainly give you a decent run for your money. And she's almost a winning place sort of a price now. Anyway, last 2 or 3 going in quickly as well. Here's Stuart.
Climate Friendly moves in, all in, ready. They're off, breaking out over 1.5 miles. Trigoni in the dark blue and white, just half restrained, leaving their stalls and drops in towards the rear of the field for the British EBF and Sir Henry Cecil Gold Trust Stakes. And the early pace comes from the white-faced Climate Friendly as they begin to sort themselves out into racing formation. Out wide and very handy, market value. Will Buick is just taking a while to track over aboard the Royal Filly, but has the advantage at the end of a 1/4 mile, and they go along at around 37, 38 miles an hour. Now, at the other end of the field, among those held up, well, Frankie wants no part of the early gallop. He's last but 1 on Spring Fever, and he's only got Hayley Turner and Making Me Do It in behind, and there would be a good 10 lengths from top to tail as they head towards the end of 1/2 mile, and it's Market Value who leads to Climate Friendly and Bright Diamond out wide with a yellow cap. Sea Theme in the dark blue racing up the running rail alongside LeMay in the green and white stripes, and then Scenic in her pearl blue jacket. Ryan Moore, a patient aboard One Evening. Maroon Silks, the white-faced filly One Evening. He's got 4 behind at this stage. Moricana in the pink and blue is one of them. Tragoni up the running rail is another. And then Spring Fever and Making Me Do It at the tail of the field as they begin the swing at halfway. Market Value leading them left-handed by 3 parts of a length to Climate Friendly. Bright Diamond is circling the field as they go along at 35 miles an hour. Up the inner, Sea Theme disputing 4th LeMay between horses. 2 lengths away, Scenic in the light blue is the shadow to One Evening. Moricana bustled along on the crown of the bend. Then Tragoni, Spring Fever, and still Haley sits at the back of the field on Making Me Do It. They're in line for home now, heading towards the last half mile and just drifting towards the centre of the track, and Climate Friendly has come surging through to take over here. Neil Callan has committed aboard Climate Friendly and has moved on from Market Value. Now they're all getting to work in behind. Sea Theme in the dark blue is running on, so too LeMay with the green cap. Bright Diamond second from the left, Yellow Jacket struggling. Further left, Spring Fever now being asked by Frankie to try and close, but it was Climate Friendly who made that decisive move, and inside the 2 is over 2 lengths clear. Can she last home? Sea Theme in the dark blue is running on, so too One Evening in the maroon, then LeMay. Tragoni in the blue and white is staying on powerfully. Climate Friendly's getting lonely and they're clustering around her. Sea Theme, One Evening, Tragoni down the centre, another finish ahead, so this is going to be very close, very close. Sea Theme in the centre, One Evening up the inner, judge needed, Tragoni out wide, and then Climate Friendly.
Sea Theme, I think, has held on, but it's very close. One Evening up the inside. Tragoni's run a big race there. Safi Osborne, he's had a great season on board that filly, and the enterprisingly ridden Climate Friendly has held on for 4th, narrowly missing out there on a bit of valuable black type, but it was a swashbuckling ride from Neil Callan in the second half of the race. But Sea Theme would look on that evidence to have got there and provided William Haggis and Tom Marquand with a double, and she was well backed into 2.6 on the World Pool. She was the favourite, and I'm pretty confident she has got home in front. Let's have a look back at how she managed to achieve the victory from the start.
They're off, breaking out over 1.5 miles. Tragoni in the dark blue and white, just half restrained, leaving their stalls and drops in towards the rear of the field for the British EBF and Sir Henry Cecil Gold Trust Stakes. And the early pace comes from the white-faced Climate Friendly as they begin to sort themselves out into racing formation. Out wide and very handy, Market Value. Will Buick is just taking a while to track over aboard the Royal Filly, but has the advantage at the end of a 1/4 mile, and they go along at around 37, 38 miles an hour. Now at the other end of the field, among those held up, well, Frankie wants no part of the early gallop. He's last but one on Spring Fever, and he's only got Haley Turner and Making Me Do It in behind, and there would be a good 10 lengths from top to tail as they head towards the end of 1/2 mile, and it's Market Value who leads to Climate Friendly and Bright Diamond out wide with a yellow cap. Sea Theme in the dark blue racing up the running rail alongside LeMay in the green and white stripes, and then Scenic in a pearl blue jacket. Ryan Moore, a patient aboard One Evening. Maroon Silks, the white-faced filly One Evening. He's got 4 behind at this stage. Moricana in the pink and blue is one of them. Tragoni up the running rail is another. And then Spring Fever and Making Me Do It at the tail of the field as they begin the swing at halfway. Market Value leading them left-handed by 3 parts of a length to Climate Friendly. Bright Diamond is circling the field as they go along at 35 miles an hour. Up the inner, Sea Theme disputing 4th LeMay between horses. 2 lengths away, Scenic in the light blue is the shadow to One Evening. Moricana bustled along on the crown of the bend. Then Tragoni, Spring Fever, and still Haley sits at the back of the field on Making Me Do It. They're in line for home now, heading towards the last half mile and just drifting towards the centre of the track, and Climate Friendly has come surging through to take over here. Neil Callan has committed aboard Climate Friendly and has moved on from Market Value. Now they're all getting to work in behind. Sea Theme in the dark blue is running on, so too LeMay with the green cap. Bright Diamond second from the left, Yellow Jacket struggling. Further left, Spring Fever now being asked by Frankie to try and close, but it was Climate Friendly who made that decisive move, and inside the 2 is over 2 lengths clear. Can she last home? Sea Theme in the dark blue is running on, so too One Evening in the maroon, then LeMay. Tragoni in the blue and white is staying on powerfully. Climate Friendly's getting lonely and they're clustering around her. Sea Theme, One Evening, Tragoni down the centre, another finish ahead, so this is going to be very close, very close. Sea Theme in the centre, One Evening.
It was, but C Theme has got there. We can see that on the print there on screen. Actually, quite a decisive margin, beating One Evening, who surged home, but alas for One Evening, punters not quite well enough. And has not been able to overcome that progressive Haggis horse. Good run as well from Trigoni. And, well, Climate Friendly put in an 11.38 second sectional as they turned for home. And I think that probably, well, she might not necessarily run that close had she been held on to, but I think she's probably just got a bit tired in the closing stages.
Yeah, she ignited the race off steady fractions. We haven't seen Sue make 25 and change splits all week here so far on the round course. We saw 3 or 4 on the spin here. Then a really quick quarter mile, which enabled Climate Friendly to break clear, but it was an early move, a bold move that didn't quite pay off. Thought Trigoni just took a little while to find a gap, but no real excuses. And the one filly who was an unknown quantity, backed as if she had plenty of improvement, she has shown plenty of improvement. One Evening, she's right back to her form. Trigoni comes from a good handicap at Windsor. Neil Callan, I think hats off to him. I always applaud that sort of enterprise when you try to really set a race alight. That's what he did. But in retrospect, he just set things up for a really strong young progressive stayer in the winner. But I don't think this is high-quality Goltras form.
Yeah, and we'll never quite know whether if he hadn't made that move, he'd have finished any closer. He might not have done. But it certainly did help 1 or 2 and behind, I think, who were probably a little bit far back. Trigoni was a long way back in the run, as indeed was the Gosden horse as well, One Evening, who was ridden sort of upside down by Ryan Moore. But in the end, that was a good decision to hold off that early speed. Because it went quite quick early, then they slowed things right down. And then the injection of pace from Neil Callan has probably helped those horses from a little bit further back. But that was the Goltras Stakes. That was race 5. 2 more still to go. Tom Marquand, a man no stranger to the winner's enclosure here at York today.
Double up.
Yeah, indeed, and we can hear from him now.
Yeah, Cheska was just alluding to that move from Neil Callan. Did that sort of scare you a bit? Did you think, we're going to reel them in?
No, it took this filly to a place where she's not been before, and that's for sure. But I was bargaining on the fact that she'd stay really well on this ground. Obviously, she stayed a mile and a half with Donny on bottom of this ground. I was just hoping that whatever was coming from behind would come slow enough to almost move us forward, because she was struggling to bridge the gap, but she was going well enough to do it. It was just she needed a bit of help. But look, she's obviously been beautifully campaigned by William and the team to land a listed race on so early in her career, and continues a fantastic week.
Just very quickly, she's got Group 1 entries. Does she, at this stage of her career, feel like she could make up into that sort of horse?
She's certainly shaping that way. She stays very well, and that was a big performance.
Cheers, top man. Well done, Tom.
Yeah, she's a very nice filly. She's out of the mare Mayhem, who was pretty useful. Was placed at a decent level. Did win a Group 3 at Chantilly as well. The Prix Ali France, winning over a mile and a quarter. And as Ollie rightly alluded to there, has an entry in the Kipco British Champions Fillies and Mares Stakes. That is a meeting that we will be taking on the Whirlpool. She's a big price for that, but she is improving. 26, 50 and 14 about the winner. That was C Theme. The runner-up was number 4, One Evening, at $19. There, number 5, Trigoni's run a super race there. Connections will be pleased with her, 68.50. And 4th, there, number 7, Climate Friendly. Quidella, 95.50. Forecast, 139. The TS, 3,174. The Trio, 875. The QQP of 4 and 11, 35.50. 5 and 11, 157.50. And 4 and 5, $249. First 4, 4, 5, 7, 11, 2,706 there on the first 4. Quartet, 27,649 is the return on the quartet. 11, 4, 5 and 7 for the quartet. That was the Galtree Stakes. That was a double for William Haggis and Tom Marquand after Relief Rally won the first. Let's have a look at the details for our next race coming up. Action comes thick and fast. It's a nursery handicap for the 2-year-olds here over the 1,400 metres. Decent sized field lining up for this one as well. And we can run you through them very shortly indeed. 4.6 is the price about the favourite currently. Soldier's Gold, Richard Kingscote drawn 10, Ballon d'Or, James Dorlin 1, Inish Fullen is Sean Levy drawn 2, Gushing Gold is William Buick drawn 8, Aragon Castle the favourite, Oisin Murphy in 14, Expert Choice, Oisin Orr in 16, Red and Blue Sovereign, Pierre-Louis Jamin drawn 18. 8 is Barg, Sam James, drawn 5, Big Birdie Bassett, Liam Canary, drawn 13, Lincoln Legacy, Franny Norton in 3, Miss Emerald, Andrew Mullen in 20, Maclube is David Egan, drawn 19, Gamron is Billy Garrity, drawn 6, Ajwadi is Cam Hardy in 15, Lexington Bell, PJ McDonald, drawn 12, Straight A, Haley Turner in 7, Blue Collar, Andrea Zany, drawn 9, Dark Encounter, Safi Osborne 17, Keep Warm, Joanna Mason, drawn 4, 20, Nelson Rose, Raul de Silva, drawn in gate number 11 down at the bottom there. Then he carries a very lightweight. They've weighed in for the Galtrees, 26, 50 and 14 the winner, that was C Theme, 19 and 68.50 the placed horses, fourth number 7. Quinella, 95.50, forecast 139, the Tierce 3,174 and the Trio 875. They have weighed in for the Galtrees Stakes there. That was S25 code for that one. 2 more races still to come, of course. That was the first leg, the treble as well. And the next leg will be the middle leg, of course. 2,706, 4, 5, 7, 11 is the first 4 numbers and dividend. 27,649 for the quartet. 11, 4, 5 and 7 on that quartet there. The double, race 4, number 10, race 5, 3, 11 or 13, 379, 10 into 4 consolation, $91 on the double, races 4 and 5. 2:28.09, 2:28.09 was the winner's time there. Ahead twice were the distances for race 5. It's a great shot of the straight course there at York. It's their test of a horse, York. And the start for this next race will start from that chute in the far distance over 400 metres. Well, William Haggis has just trained the winner. That's a double for him. Let's hear from him now.
When would we not want you, William? Well, birthday boys come good one day after. Have we? This horse is in the Fillies and Mares Group 1 later in the season, but could you have another St Ledger possible on your hands here?
I think if she goes that far, she'll go for the Park Hill. It's only a listed race today. She's not clued up yet at all. And when Mr. Gredley's filly shot clear, Tom said she was left a bit, didn't know what to do, but she got there in the finish, so that was good. Stays well. Goes on most ground now. She won on the soft last time and fast now.
I thought we really saw your stable jockey just showing what he can do. I thought he was a superb ride.
It's always a good ride when they win, but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But he has to give, under the rules, time to respond and all that kind of thing, and he did that, and it was just beautiful to watch.
He's a good rider. It's taken a lot of time for people to notice. I've always said I don't know why he doesn't ride 6 favourites a day, because he's a very solid, very consistent, top-class rider. So we're very lucky to have him.
Well, that's your fault, isn't it? You need to send out 6 favourites a day.
Yes, but he could ride 6 favourites for other people when we've got a load of...
Very, very well done. Good day for the Yorkshire.
Yes, very good day.
Well done.
Yes, well done to William Haggis. Great to see him get these couple of winners today. Lady Cecil making the presentation there. Obviously, that race was in memory of the late and very much great and much missed Sir Henry Cecil, and Tom Marquand going up to collect his prize from Lady Jane Cecil, a very successful trainer in her own right as well. And the presentation taking place, Tom Marquand telling all how he did it, and a very nice filly going forward indeed. C Theme having now made it 2 from 3 there this afternoon at York, and William Haggis, very proud Yorkshireman with a double on the Naves Mile. He'll be extremely pleased. There's Philip Robinson as well. Many a Hong Kong fan will remember Philip, of course, former champion jockey here in Hong Kong, and an excellent rider he was as well. Master tactician was Philip Robinson. He representing the owners, and great little trophy as well, isn't it? Fantastic bit of silverware on the back of that 5th race. We've got a substitution rule coming to play here, so it's 4 and 5 plus any one of 3, 11 and 13 for this race, with 11, 9 and 14, those numbers from the 5th. So we've got a big field 2-year-old nursery coming up at 11:45. This is our penultimate race on the programme, and the favourite here is horse number 5. That is Aragon Castle. Andrew Balding and Usheen Murphy are combining with this horse. A little bit over the odds actually compared to the UK price, though not a great deal. In fact, they're more or less on a par. Right, we've got some key races. Let's have a look at them, shall we? Expert Choice is where we'll start.
Working hard in behind them is Tribal Rhythm, as Expert Choice kicks away by 3 lengths in a short space of time. Makes the journey on up the hill towards the final furlong and is going to have to hit a brick wall to lose now. It is Expert Choice some 4 or 5 away. Running home nicely, Galactic Charm down the outside of Tribal Rhythm. They'll have a private battle for second, but it's Expert Choice's race. Second place is Galactic Charm with Tribal Rhythm in third.
Towards the outside, and then wider still is Mission to Moon and Count Palatine as they run down inside the final quarter mile. And Mission to Moon and Gray's in, these two going on. Just ahead now, Ballon d'Or, Lincoln Legacy on the far side, and it's Mission to Moon who's picking up best here from the favourite Gray's in as they race on inside the final half furlong. And Mission to Moon in the hands of David Egan is stretching away and goes 3-4 lengths clear of the running on Gamron in second. Mission to Moon wins, Gamron second, Gray's in only.
There were the key races, just a small handful of them, runners in the parade. We're 16 minutes away from what looks a competitive 2-year-olds handicap. Back to John and Graham we go.
Yes, the penultimate race on the card. It's the O8 Wellness EBF Stallions Nursery Handicap over the 1400 metres, the 7 furlongs for 2-year-olds, of course. And the first we can see is horse number 4, Gushing Gold, Graham. Third, just beaten 3/4 of a length on the all-weather at Kempton last time. Wasn't a bad effort, probably has to improve on it, but still, from stall 8, William Buick and Andrew Balding team here.
Yeah, these blue points are everywhere. First season sire doing really well. Gushing Gold hasn't won yet. I think he has to improve here if he's going to get a win today. He's been running well in minor events on the speed. He is a forward goer, so I think he'll make a good sight for a long way as he goes round the bend. But whether he's quite handicapped quite so well as some of these progressive types, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, Red and Blue Sovereign, the other likely forward goer as well. Arrogant Castle, I like this horse's form a lot in the context of this. A really good run on fast ground, albeit just in a maiden at Epsom, but it's a maiden that's worked out very well. Then ran okay on the soft at Chester last time. Will sit just behind the speed, and I think will be staying on strongly at the finish.
Yeah, only had 3 runs. Handles a bend really well. Horse he beat at Epsom, Mission to Moon, won a valuable nursery at Goodwood. Soft ground Chester, he was keen in rear. He didn't use his energy really well, and his stablemate, lesser fancied, swept by late on. But overall, his profile is a likeable one.
That's horse number 5, Arrogant Castle. We will be moving on to see quite a few of these. I think it's 19 we're going on to next. This is Keep Warm for Joanna Mason and Mick and David Easterby, and on a hat-trick, Graham.
It's a family affair. Mick is the patriarch, David is the son, and Joanna is the granddaughter of the legendary Mick Easterby. So it's in the family here, and Keep Warm's done well for them. He's got 2 handicap wins. They were both over 6 furlongs. He really ought to be suited by 7, because both his 6 furlong wins, as you know, John, were on a very stiff 6 at Pontefract. Got up late in an ordinary race last time, up 6 pounds, tougher race, but the extra distance shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and there's lots of pace in this race. We'll be saying that quite a bit, I would have thought, and Keep Warm will be suited by that. This is horse number 6 now, which is Expert Choice. I thought that was an excellent run at Beverley over slightly further. Good gate speed, got a good position, stuck on really well. No problems. The trip to 7 furlongs, obviously back in trip. Some good figures too. Got a big chance.
Widest draw, but echo all that. I think he's a progressive horse. He showed ability, definite ability on his first 2 runs, but he was much sharper, sweeter, and quickened really well to win at Beverley last time. Trip's not a problem. The second from Beverley has run well. I like his chances, but reading Richard Fye's comments, he likes Expert Choice. but I get the impression he thinks one of his other runners, Ajwadi, has plenty of chance as well.
Horse number 17 is Blue Collar, who as yet has not really produced what you'd expect to win a race of this nature. Has managed to get a handicap mark of 77, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the run last time out was okay, but still.
Keep an eye on him, John, in the market, this fella, because I agree. I don't think he looked anything special at all on his first 2 runs, but I thought he showed a good bit more. Over 6, back at 6 at Newmarket last time, when he was handled fairly considerately, but he stayed on really well late in the piece. So keep an eye on him in the market. He is open to improvement for Richard Hannon, and Hong Kong bound Andrea Atzeni is in the place.
Indeed. Now this is number 7, Red and Blue Sovereign, stall 18, obviously round that sort of bend, dogleg bend over the 7 furlongs. Will almost certainly be fired forward. That's the way he always goes, and does stick on pretty well in his races as well.
Yeah, you wouldn't choose that draw for a forward-going horse like him, but that aside, he's got a nice, mildly progressive, likeable profile, and 5th time lucky. Last time out at Epsom in a novice race, led, game, next success. The 2nd has won at Ripon to give the form a bit of a boost.
Pierre-Louis Jamin gets his chance on a pretty big day to ride Red and Blue.
Do you like him as a jockey?
I think he's good. He deserves his chance in these sorts of races, I think. So Tom Dascombe.
As Bob Marley would say, I hope you like Jamin too.
Oh, very good, yes.
So bad.
Oh dear. Anyway, Lincoln Legacy is next. It's been a long day. Franny Norton and Charlie Johnson teaming up, and well, it was a winner last time out at Newmarket, and prior to that had run okay in that nursery at Goodwood. I think we both quite fancied this one that day. Wasn't a bad effort, and obviously followed it up subsequently.
Definitely 6th in that Mission to Moon race we've already referenced, and if you like your recent form, hers is very warm, because it was just last Saturday. She was reasonably well backed, and she got the job done in quite tidy fashion. So for that success, she picks up the mandatory £6 penalty, but it's clear that she's really clicked of late, and £6 penalty shouldn't stop her running well again.
Gamran is one I think will run quite well on a place line. Horse number 13 was nicely positioned as far as the speed and the rail went at Goodwood last time on soft ground, obviously, as most of that racing was at Goodwood, but it's got some form on a fastish surface as well, and I think just run style in a race with plenty of pace will be good for this particular contest.
Point I'd make, I like the other 5 horses a bit more. I think they're more progressive. He ran well. He did all his best work late, John, as you know, at Goodwood, in a race where the winning time was 1:31. This is going to be a much sharper test of speed, and we've talked about horses who can get back, can struggle to land a blow, and I wonder if he might be that type of horse today. I think he might just get found out in when the acceleration really kicks in. I wonder if he's going to be sharp enough to cope.
Horse number 14 is Ajwadi, the one that you mentioned as far as Richard Fahey was concerned. Only 4th start, but quite well fancied in the market.
Fahey thinks this is potentially the best handicapped of his, 3 runners here, I think. And the fact that Expert Choice is one of them, it's notable, because I like Expert Choice, but I do take notice of what Fahey says. This horse is well bred. They liked him at the sales. He was 150 grand breezer, so he obviously breezed quite sharply. By Dutch Art, again, a bit like Expert Choice, didn't look anything special first 2 runs. Much better last time when he got the better of a nicely bred Johnson newcomer at Pontefract over 6. He's up to 7 here, but his trainer thinks that his handicap mark, which is 78, is very workable.
Okay, that was Ajwadi. Right up to the top of the weights with horse number 1, Soldier's Gold, who was a winner at Ascot 2 starts ago, then went to Goodwood, of course, for the Vintage Stakes that was won by Hartem. Obviously slightly outclassed here, back into nursery level, or back to nursery level for only the 2nd time, and of course that other nursery race resulted in victory.
The Ascot nursery win was decisive. I do think he got the rail that day, and that probably helped him. He used his speed and his experience to good effect. He wasn't disgraced, only 7th in the Vintage Stakes. Hartem, the winner, I think runs in the Gimcrack tomorrow. But Soldier's Gold has shown his hand to a certain extent now. 93 doesn't leave him a great deal of margin for error, giving weight all round today.
Okay, that's Soldier's Gold from stall 10. Horse number 2 is Ballon d'Or, who again has run up against some pretty good horses. The likes of Ramatuel was 4th, albeit beaten 7.5 lengths by that one at Shaunty back in June. Subsequently ran at Newbury and was a bit disappointing, and I quite like this one on each way line. Goodwood had a wide draw and didn't really cope with it particularly well. Stall 1 this time. I'm expecting a better run, but not too sure if he'll be able to get in the shake-up off quite a big weight.
I'd expect a better run. I think he was one of the horses who, he didn't sink in the Goodwood mud, but he didn't shine in it, and he was beaten a shade under 10 lengths in the end. So I think he's much more of a speed horse. As the name indicates, Mike Lowen is part of his ownership group. Mike Lowen, of course, former winner of the Ballon d'Or.
And I bet he hasn't been shy of telling quite a lot of people either. Straight A is next. And indeed, Straight A, another horse who's going to come from off the speed. Although, as I said, quite a few of these do go forward. So Straight A, from a tactical perspective, could be in a good position. A winner of a Yarmouth Novice Stakes 2 starts ago, but nothing flash as far as speed figures are concerned yet.
A bit like Ballon d'Or, you'd be hoping that soft ground was the kibosh for him last time, but he was kiboshed. He was well fancied at Donny, and he came back well beaten. So maybe the soft ground was against him, but he was 3-1 joint favourite that day, and he was beaten 14 wickets.
Horse number 12 is Matloob, who won at Wolverhampton 2 starts ago. That was back in June, and then didn't really follow that up in handicap company at Windsor when quite well fancied. It was a rather disappointing performance on that occasion. Mark of 80 here, not absolutely convinced.
Wow, that was a bad segment at Windsor by him. He was pretty well fancied 3-1, but he was beaten 5 lengths, 5th of 6 in a workaday nursery. This looks a pretty good nursery. Questions to answer for number 12, Matloob.
Yeah, certainly this is a much more competitive race than that Windsor contest. Horse number 8 is Barg, or Barge. Cheek pieces on for the first time, beaten 22 lengths by one of the top 2-year-olds of the season, Rosalian, last time out. This is a more realistic level, Graham.
It is. Sam James rides for Carl Burke. Carl's had plenty of runners so far. Hasn't the winner, I don't think. Plenty of time. Not halfway through the 4-day festival as yet, but it's last time out. There was no real ground excuse. The ground was officially good. He wasn't fancied, but he had to shape better than beaten 22 lengths, 8th of 10, for us to make a strong case for him today. Prior to that, form was okay. Last time at Ascot, he was chinned.
The Ripon race was okay, but it does need to improve on what he's done subsequently. Moving on now to horse number 18, Dark Encounter, who was good on debut at Redcar, ran a decent figure, finishing second behind a horse called Brave Empire, but has done very little since, Graham.
Another Burke project and an inconclusive one. Promising at Redcar first time, not so good at Ayr, last of 6, not so good at Sandown, 7th of 10. So if he wins, I think plenty of punters will lose.
Yeah, and that's probably a pretty fair way of assessing it, although we've had one 40-1 winner already with dear old Ropey Guest. This is
40-1
Yeah,
one of your old favourites.
Oh yeah, no, let's not go there. Miss Emerald.
Did beat the horse I backed as well.
Miss Emerald is next up. They've been out the first 3, this horse, all in either maiden or novice company. Still yet to run a convincing figure, so a mark of 81 might be a little bit on the high side.
Yeah, if you're Mrs. J. Porter, you paid 16 grand for this filly, you'd be right well pleased with her record so far. 2 wins from 4 starts and 2 places. Pretty good second last time. I wonder how much improvement has she got. She's only had 4 runs, but she's had proper races, and a few of these are ready to spring forward, I think.
Horse 9 is Big Bertie Bassett, another one who had to see the rear end of Rosalian at Ascot in that race that took place, of course, on King George Day, a Whirlpool race, but was a winner at Doncaster prior to that.
Yeah, Tom Dascombe has a couple of runners here. Big Bertie Bassett, he looked a promising horse in the early part of the summer. His win, second time out at Doncaster, was strong, but again, as with one of our other runners, he came up against Rosalian, potentially a good horse at Ascot, but he wasn't beaten 7, 8, 9 lengths, beaten 27. So how do you make a strong case for a horse who ran a few weeks ago and ran badly?
This is Nelson Rose, horse number 20. I was calling them home at Epsom that day, and I'd rather fancied her to win, and I thought she ran a pretty average race, to be honest, in not a particularly good maiden. So although she's got a very light weight on her back due to a rating of 72, I am not in the slightest bit convinced.
Epsom second, okay. Since then, 4th at Catterick, modest 5th at Epsom. No, we've gone through a lot of horses here, John, and we have, I think they sort of divide into 2 camps. We've got quite a few horses who are progressive you could fancy, and we've got quite a few horses who they really haven't shown enough of late to suggest that they're ready to win a big, valuable Ebor Festival Week nursery.
Yeah, well, I mean, famous last words, I think you're pretty much in agreement. I think the Aragon Castle Expert Choice Q is a pretty obvious one here. I think your Expert Choice over Aragon Castle, I'm the other way around.
I need more than 2 here.
Yeah.
I'd certainly have those 2 in, Aragon Castle and Expert Choice, but keep an eye on this Ajwadi. Fahy has a very, sure touch with his handicappers, and he thinks that horse is potentially ahead of the game. Draw's not ideal for Red and Blue Sovereign, but he could run a bold race. There have to be overs here, John. When we have a big field of handicappers, this is what the Whirlpool is made for, where people can take a view, and there may be value to be found. Let's have a look. Soldier's Gold, top one. Hugo Palmer, Richard Kingscott, 19.
14 to 1.
Slightly overs. Ballon d'Or, 23.
22 to 1.
Bang on. Inish Farlan, we'll touch on him in a moment, 26.
28.
Similar. Gushing Gold, 13.
15 to 2.
Overs at the moment. Aragon Castle, 4.4.
100 to 30.
Very similar. Expert Choice, 7.3.
8 to 1.
Similar. Red and Blue Sovereign, 22.
16 to 1.
Overs. Barge, 32.
22s.
Overs. Big Bertie Bassett, 18.
28 to 1 for Big Bertie.
Lincoln Legacy, 9.8.
6 to 1.
Slightly overs. Miss Emerald, 28.
66 to 1.
Matt Lube, 23.
18 to 1.
Gamran, 12.
16 to 1.
Ajwadi, hello, 28.
14 to 1 here.
Double the price for number 14, Ajwadi. Lexington Bell, 37.
Another big pace angle, 20 to 1 chance.
Straight A Student, 34.
20 to 1, it's not one of those.
Blue Collar, 14.
9 to 1.
I'd seen it on Blue Collar. Dark Encounter, 31.
40 to 1.
Keep Warm, 23.
18 to 1.
And Nelson Rose, 48.
80 to 1 here.
Yeah, I don't have a massively strong view here, but there are horses I like, and sort of in this order. I'm going to go with Expert Choice.
Yep.
For all that Fahy likes Ajwadi, I like that Beverley performance from Expert Choice. Ashinor is the stable jockey. He rides Expert Choice, but I don't think he could do the weight on stablemate Ajwadi. In fact, I'm pretty sure he can't do 120 pounds. So there is a reason why Ashinor is on Expert Choice. It's a weight thing. I like Expert Choice. I like Aragon Castle. I think Ajwadi, the good word from Fahy, is quite persuasive. Maybe Lincoln Legacy, maybe Red and Blue Sovereign, but they'd be my top three. 2 Fahy horses and 1 Andrew Balding and Sheen Murphy.
Yeah, Aragon Castle has got plenty of, to use the old cliche, ticks in the right boxes. The Epsom form is aging very well. Mission to Mars, of course, has franked it nicely. And then the Chester form, I think, it wasn't a bad run, but it's one that you could also put a line through as far as this is concerned, because I think he's going to get the perfect race set up here. Sheen Murphy and Andrew Balding. Murphy's had a fairly quiet meeting thus far, but he's never too far away from a winner, and there aren't many better big race jockeys. And, well, Aragon Castle for me. And then Expert Choice in there for second. Trying to think of my other minor positions here now. Yeah, Gamran I think will run quite well. And Red and Blue Sovereign, if it's a kind of speed of the speed scenario, he might be able to stick around better than 1 or 2 others.
Slightly different trip, but we had a big mile handicap, extra furlong.
Yeah.
Pace held out really well in that mile handicap round the bend, didn't it? With Point Linus and Spirit Catcher and one other front runner dominating. So it's just a circumstantial piece of evidence, but you can go a solid gallop under these fast conditions and maintain your position and your speed. So here in Britain, it's 3 to 1 Aragon Castle, it's 13 to 2 Lincoln Legacy. Charlie Johnson has had so far a quiet week. Gushing Gold is 7 to 1. Didn't really see that amount of support coming for that horse. Isn't that a stablemate of Aragon Castle? Are they both Balding horses? I think they are. Expert Choice is 7 to 2. Blue Collar is 10 to 1. So Andrew Balding, who's also had a relatively quiet week so far, has 2 of the first 3, at least in the British market.
Of course, William Buick riding Gushing Gold, and of course he rode for Andrew Balding as an apprentice very, very successfully. So they're making their way behind the starting stall. Still one more race to come today, and of course tomorrow it's Nunthorpe Day here on the Whirlpool, and some very good races on the undercard as well.
Brilliant.
Jim Crack as well.
Speed and stamina. Highfield Princess looking to go back to back in the Coolmore Wootton Bassett Nunthorpe Stakes. Jason Hart, John Quinn, the Princess, who bidding to be the Queen of Speed, but we also have stamina. And in tactical terms, John, perhaps the most intriguing riddle of the week in how far will Quickthorn go clear in the Lonsdale Cup? Will jockeys dare to let Marquand roll forward and go 10-12 clear and watch him stay off in the distance? So that's all for tomorrow. We've got 2 big handicaps to finish off today. I'm not sure we've got the answer to this, but it's an unusual race in that I think there are a fair few horses who are not right easy to fancy here. Would you agree with that?
I think so, yeah. Well, it's certainly that you wouldn't necessarily put a line through, but think, well, they are relegated into kind of also-rans. And yeah, I was able to whittle it down, I thought, to the top two quite quickly, and then it was a case of trying to find one or two others to fill the other spots. So, yeah, I've got a lot of time for certainly Arrogant Castle, and I think Expert Choice has done precious little wrong so far in his career, and he has, every time has been asked to produce a decent figure, has done so.
Yeah, he was sharp last time. Second horse from that race has run well, and it's not hard and fast. But in this type of race, valuable nursery handicaps, you're looking for horses who haven't shown the full range of their abilities. They haven't walked the full length of the counter yet, and they're sitting on a better performance. And it's a feel thing. You can't just look at the page and say that horse is improving. You just have to watch them and see how the way they're campaigned and watch the way they travel. Paddock's really helpful in times like that. And we have a few lightly raced horses. Arrogant Castle is unexposed. Expert Choice is definitely unexposed. Lincoln Legacy, it's not so much an unexposed thing, but it's very recent, and it's solid recent nursery form for her.
Certainly is. Right, there's about 8 or 9 left to go, and a couple of little pieces of times news to give you across today, which would be interesting, I would have thought, to many of you. Yorkshire Oaks, 2 minutes 25.86 seconds. That's considerably faster than standard. And the Goltra Stakes actually faster than standard too, although not as fast as the Yorkshire Oaks, 2 minutes 28.01. And going back to those top two races, Dragon Leader, of course, won the sales race, ran 1:10.38, which is 1/6 of a second faster, or 0.6 of a second faster than the Lowther winner, a Relief Rally. So I know it's a colt versus a filly, etc. But still, given that the sales race level of form, or what we thought it might be, that's a pretty eye-opening time that Dragon Leader's run. He's definitely a group horse of the future.
How well have Yorkshire trainers done so far this week? I don't think they've had quite the success they normally do.
Yeah.
Forza Auto won for Kevin Ryan yesterday. Richard Fahey might be the man here. Nearly all in for race 6, 7 furlong nursery. Good luck with whatever you've sided with.
Yep, 3 to go. Here's Stuart.
I reckon we've got 3 or 4 more to go, with Inish Follen having just gone into stall 2. Keep Warm is to go into stall 4. Gamron has just gone into stall 6, but we're almost ready. Keep Warm out the back. And preparing to move in now for this Orate Wellness EBF Stallions Nursery. That's it, I reckon they're all in, 20 of them. They're off. 7 furlongs, 1,400 metres ahead of them. Keep Warm was a little bit slow in getting out of the stalls. Ballon d'Or in a gold jacket down at the rail was away well. Out in the centre, Lexington Bell in the light blue is handy with a nose-banded Gushing Gold, and then Nelson Rose. Red and Blue Sovereign in a royal blue jacket is crossing over to race handily as they complete the first couple of furlongs, with Ashwadi, the green sleeves and cap, right on terms. The other end of the field, Gamron's not going the early gallop, is being pushed along, and also well back, slow starting Keep Warm with Miss Emerald and Matt Lube. Into the straight, heading towards the last half mile. Lexington Bell giving a lead to Ballon d'Or in a gold jacket, Gushing Gold in the noseband. Then Ashwadi and Red and Blue Sovereign out wide in the royal blue to Inish Fallon, the spotted cap from Soldiers Gold and Nelson Rose. Now away to the left as they go beyond halfway, Expert Choice in a yellow jacket is making headway, and further left, also in yellow, Matt Lube is upside Dark Encounter and Arrogant Castle, the dark sleeves and cap. Running on down now towards the last quarter mile. Lexington Bell, the light blue, being taken on by Ballon d'Or. Inish Fallon, the blue sleeves, is joining in with the nose-banded Gushing Gold, and they are followed further back in their followed by Soldiers Gold. They're heading up towards the last furlong. There are almost 4 in a line here. Nose-banded Gushing Gold, Inish Fallon, the blue sleeves, Lexington Bell up between them. Now 3 fight out the finish, and it's going to be another finish of heads. Gushing Gold edges home from Lexington Bell and Inish Fallon. Very close for 4th between Dark Encounter and Soldiers Gold. Right in behind them were the likes of Straight A and Ballon d'Or.
Gushing Gold has won and has out-battled her rivals in the finish. Andrew Balding and William Buick teaming up for the win. Beats into second Lexington Bell. Inish Fallon's run well the far side in third. I think 18 there. Dark Encounter has finished it in 4th place, Safi Osborne and Carl Burke. But Gushing Gold is the winner, and having a quick look at the price, was well back, 12s into 7.1 on the world pool. So some nice bets landed in our penultimate, the 2-year-old nursery.
They're off. 7 furlongs, 1,400 metres ahead of them. Keep Warm was a little bit slow in getting out of the stalls. Ballon d'Or in a gold jacket down at the rail was away well. Out in the centre, Lexington Bell in the light blue is handy with a nose-banded Gushing Gold, and then Nelson Rose. Red and Blue Sovereign in a raw blue jacket is crossing over to race handily as they complete the first couple of furlongs, with Ashwadi, the green sleeves and cap, right on terms. The other end of the field, Gamron's not going the early gallop, is being pushed along, and also well back, slow starting Keep Warm with Miss Emerald and Matlube. Into the straight, heading towards the last half mile. Lexington Bell giving a lead to Ballon d'Or in a gold jacket, Gushing Gold in the noseband. Then Ashwadi and Red and Blue Sovereign out wide in the raw blue to Inish Fallon, the spotted cat from Soldiers Gold and Nelson Rose. Now away to the left as they go beyond halfway, Expert Choice in a yellow jacket is making headway, and further left, also in yellow, Matlube is upside Dark Encounter and Arrogant Castle, the dark sleeves and cap. Running on down now towards the last quarter mile. Lexington Bell, the light blue, being taken on by Ballon d'Or. Inish Fallon, the blue sleeves, is joining in with the nose-banded Gushing Gold, and they are followed further back in their fold by Soldiers Gold. They're heading up towards the last furlong. There are almost 4 in a line here. Nose-banded Gushing Gold, Inish Fallon, the blue sleeves, Lexington Bell up between them. Now 3 fight out the finish, and it's going to be another finish of heads. Gushing Gold edges home from Lexington Bell and Inish Fallon.
Gushing Gold has scored there from Andrew Balding's stable. Not the Andrew Balding horse that we were getting as excited about as Arrogant Castle, but has got the business done in a race, Graham, where once again they've gone quite fast out in front, but the speed has held up very well. Not many of these have come from off it.
Well, we've had a big mile handicap and a big 7 furlong handicap, nursery handicap here. Pace has held up in both those races, and 14 was 88 and then 22. So there was no half step in here. They were going along at a solid gallop. Dull race for Richard Fahy. Gumran, Expert Choice, Ajwadi never really promised to play a major part. And if you look back in the field, the hold-up horses are never really promising to play a major part. Inish Fallon runs really well. Gushing Gold is uncomplicated, gets the job done. Is it Lexington Bell who runs well, always on the speed? Ballon d'Or with his big weight runs an honest race, and one who catches the eye staying on well is Soldier's Gold. But to be honest, John, for £100,000 handicap, one of the most valuable nurseries of the season, I'm looking at this finish and not seeing many horses that I'd really be keen to back next time out. Are you?
Yeah, that's a pretty fair point. There's been quite a few horses who logically you'd have thought would run quite well, and they haven't really done so, and 1 or 2 that are a little bit exposed who've come out and run good races. So it's one to maybe keep an eye on for the future, but not get too excited about. I think it's probably the best way of putting it.
Yeah, Inish Fallon we didn't mention beforehand.
Yeah, did run a good race.
He did. He was down from listed company into handicap company, and he's every chance, no excuses. Ballon d'Or and Soldier's Gold, both for Hugo Palmer. He'll be looking at this result thinking, crikey, those horses ran well, but they were just a bit too high in the handicap. But they've both run honest races. Arrogant Castle, midfield, stayed there. Just an okay performance, no better, no worse.
Well, as an Arrogant Castle fan in the race, I was very happy with the position he'd taken up and the way the race was unfolding. But yeah, lifeless in the closing stages, as were quite a few.
Let me ask you this. Having seen the big mile handicap, solid pace held up. This nursery, solid pace held up. We've got a good 7 furlong fillies handicap coming up. Would that change the way you look at the race in terms of looking for on-pace runners who might stay there? Because I think it might influence me in that regard.
Well, yeah, and you've got Sophia Starlight, of course, the great St Wilfred handicap winner, who's going to be
and
in
Espresso.
There. So,
She'll be bang
both
there.
go forward, yeah.
So wildly competitive handicap to finish off. But for the moment, it's back to Hong Kong. Nick Child. Good work today, Nick.
Thank you, Graham. Yes, likewise. But you and John, you do have one more race still to come, so we'll squeeze a bit more juice out of the orange before the day is out. $71.50. The price about the winner, Gushing Gold. $32.50. The place. The runner-up was number 15. That was Lexington Bell, who's going to pay $96.50. Third, number 3, Inish Fallon at $91.50, and fourth there was number 18, Dark Encounter. Quinella, $1,444.50. Forecast, $3,384. The tier, $70,394. The trio, $20,333. QQPs, 4 and 15, $561.50. 3 and 4, $490.50, and 3 and 15, $1,534.50. That was our penultimate race, with one more still to come. Just waiting for the first four and quartet to filter through, I am hearing. And we'll bring that to you very shortly indeed, once we get it. But one more still to come. We're 23 minutes away from our final race upcoming. Andrew Balding has just trained the winner, so well done to Andrew there. William Buick, who was apprenticed to the Baldings many years ago, and has ridden a winner for them here today. Good to see Gushing Gold get her head in front, beating a number of colts in the race. So no mean feat there, beating the boys on this big stage, and it was money for her as well. She was 12 into 7.1, so not without support. Soldier's Gold was also backed. Aragon Castle for the winner's stable also well supported, and Barg at a bit of a price also went green before the jump. So that is what happened as far as the market was concerned. So we'll just wait on for these first four and quartet dividends. There just seems to be a few gremlins in the system, just holding things up for us, but we'll get there very shortly. Don't despair. I can tell you that Unequal Love is the favourite for the lucky last, 4.5. William Haggis, Tom Marquardt looking to finish the day with a treble. This one in the colours of the Cheveley Park stud. Those famous red, white and blue colours there will be sported on board the shoulders of Tom Marquardt. It will ride Unequal Love in the last race. They do go without number 2 Alcimo and also Black Cedar are the two absentees from our last race. In fact, we can take a look at it right now, right on cue. Look, Far Too Shy for Tom Quealy and George Marsden. They had a winner earlier on with Ropey Guest, drawn 14. Alcimo comes out. Nazika is Harry Davis, drawn 18. Sophia Starlight, Sam James in 16. Espresso, Joe Fanning, drawn 15. Take out 6, Black Cedar. Unequal Love is Tom Marquardt, drawn 3. 8 is Royal Dress, Ryan Moore in 1. Candle of Hope for His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Queen, William Buick in 17. Eximius is David Egan, drawn 2. Cuban Breeze, Ben Curtis in 5. International Girl, Oshinor, drawn 7. Rock Melody, Paul Morenon, drawn 4. Naomi LaPagiella is Oshie Murphy, drawn 10. 15 is Dubai Jamila for Neil Callan, drawn 19. Montesfont is Jason Hart in 20. Phony, Safi Osborne, 11. Niguri is Hector Crouch, drawn 6. Coco Jambo is Andrea Zani in 9. And Misty Blues, Cam Hardy, down at the bottom there, drawn gate number 8. So that's a look at the field for this 18-runner handicap to conclude proceedings for day 2. I'm hearing we're still waiting on this first four and quartet, so not sure what the hold-up is, but we'll get it to you as soon as we have it, of course, for race number 6. So here we go, 233,770 for the first four. Wow. 3, 4, 15 and 18. So this quartet's going to be pretty generous. So if that's the first four, the quartet is going to pay, so the quartet now 4, 15, 3 and 18 in any order, 23,377.20. That's to $1 for that quartet on race number 6 there. So 4, 15, 3 and 18 in any order for the quartet. I haven't quite seen that for a long time, that notification on there, but that's what it will pay, to a $1 unit for those numbers on race number 6. Let's hear from Andrew Balding, shall we? He's just trained the winner.
Going into it,
I was a bit worried about his draw, because it's hard work he had to take in. He didn't get the best of trips, but no, she won fair and square. She's, in fairness to her, she's been very consistent. We thought she was good enough to run in the Albany, so she was probably well handicapped.
And so what happened to her during the course of the season?
Well, she was a bit disappointing in the Albany. We gave her a break. She got caught out over 6 in a slowly run race at Newbury. Ran a very good race at Kempton the other day. Probably the surface was a little slow for her. And we just felt, the race was here. It's very good prize money, and roll the dice, and she's done it well.
So does that mean that now you'll be looking for some black type again?
Well, in due course, I'd hope, but she's a smashing filly and really good attitude.
And likes this kind of ground?
Seems to relish it, yeah. It was probably the other horse didn't.
I was going to ask, Flora Bermuda, is that what you've decided?
Well, I think Flora Bermuda, I don't know, she was travelled very well through the race, didn't get home. We thought she was certainly to stay 6 furlongs, but obviously whether she didn't stay or something's not quite right, I don't know. We'll find out in time.
She seems to handle fast ground well at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, disappointing run, really. No obvious explanation at the moment.
Okay, and looking ahead to tomorrow, how are you feeling about ground conditions for the likes of Coltrane and also Nymphadora?
Yeah, Nymphadora, it would be a concern, but she's done very well on the 5 furlong track here, so it's maybe worth a go, depending on what the weather does overnight. Then we might get the odd shower, apparently. And Coltrane's been effective on fast ground, so yeah, hopefully it won't be a problem for him.
Okay, well, best of luck tomorrow and congratulations here.
Thank you, Lydia.
Thank you.
Andrew Balding there, who's just trained the winner, and they have weighed in 71.50 and 32. Gushing Gold, number 4, 96.50 and 91.50 the placings. Fourth, number 18. The Quinella, 1,444.50. 4 counts, 3,384. The Tier, 70,394, and the Trio, 20,336. 4 and 15 QQP, 561.50. 3 and 4, 490.50, and 3 and 15, 1,534.50. They've weighed in for race 6. It was a 2-year-old nursery, won by Gushing Gold. The first 4, 233,770 for the first one. The quartet here, you can see any order for 4, 15, 3 and 18. That's 23,377.20. That's to a $1 unit. So to a $1 bet, that is the payout. The double, race 5, 3, 11 or 13 into 4, 414.50. The same 3 numbers are only one of into 15, 164. The second double trio, wow, have a look at this. In race 5, you need 4, 5 plus any one of 3, 11 and 13. Race 6, 3, 4 and 15, $856,111 for the second double trio. So pretty decent return. And there is a jackpot, 770,490 carried forward to tomorrow's second double trio. So from memory, I think we've got jackpots for both double trios tomorrow, which will be quite exciting. Philip Robinson, he's been busy today, hasn't he? Representing the connections of Gushing Gold as well. 1:24.27 was the race time. A neck by half a length. A neck by half a length were the distances for the 6th race. Andrew Balding going up to collect his prize as well. Good to see Andrew get on the score sheet this week at York. Just have a look, see if he's got one in the last. I don't think he has, no. So that is the Kingsclere handler's job done for the day. And he will be back tomorrow for more of the same. William Buick, likewise, he'll be hoping to bag a few more winners before the week is out, especially with some of that really good prize money on offer at York, and obviously the Whirlpool, a big part of this meeting as well. Great to be on board with York's Ebor Festival, and we're able to bring in the first 3 days. Well, let's have a look at some key races now for our final race, and let's start with Sophia's Starlight.
Furlong and a half on the extreme left. Sophia's Starlight makes her bid. She leads over there by 2 to 3 lengths. Summer Gand is beginning to run on the brown cap far side. Near side, Wob 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 is still ahead of his rivals, being chased hard by Brazen Bolt and Temple Brewer. It is Sophia's Starlight over towards the far side. The filly chased hard by Summer Gand in second. Summer Gand is closing. It's going to be close. Oh, it's on the nod. Near side, Sophia's Starlight may have held Summer Gand in the great.
Shy now for the Eastern Callum Shepherd, who've come forward to pick it up with a furlong to go. Far Too Shy, and Callum Shepherd says go, and she's gone on by a length and a half, maybe 2 lengths on the far side. Ramiro is running on, but Far Too Shy has the lead deep inside the final furlong, and the East will arrive. It's going to be Far Too Shy for Callum Shepherd. Far Too Shy is far too good. Abel Kane was second.
In front from Glorious Angel, trying to bridge the gap with Naomi Lapaglia. They're the 1, 2, 3. Desert Voice with plenty to do. Ibiza Love in these shoes is staying on down the outside. They're getting to Chasserelle. Naomi Lapaglia and Glorious Angel joining Chasserelle in these shoes is staying on Durley on the far side. Naomi Lapaglia being worn away by In These Shoes as they race up to the line. Naomi Lapaglia is holding on gamely from In These Shoes and wins. Naomi Lapaglia from...
Yes, good competitive fare coming up here in the last. We're only 13 minutes out. They do offer this at 20 minutes past midnight. There is Unequal Love, the favourite for the last. Let's go back to York with thanks and rejoin Graham and John with one more race still to come.
Yeah, well done if you're still with us past midnight there in Hong Kong or wherever you are in the world, but especially if you're doing the late shift over there in the Far East. Horses are in the parade ring for our final race of the day. Plenty of speed in this as well. We'll talk about that given the way things have gone over the last couple of days. But this is Unequal Love, Graham, horse number 7, who's won 3 on the bounce. The Mark and Haggis combination has gone very well, and this horse has looked pretty progressive, although didn't have probably a huge amount to beat at Haydock last time.
Agreed, John. Small field. 3-year-olds, first to mention, have held a whip hand in this race. They've won, I think, 3/4, 2/3 in the last dozen years. Unequal Love is one of a considerable number of progressive horses on show here. And yes, it was only a 3-runner race at Haydock, but she was ridden very confidently. She did it tidily from a horse who was in good form. She's up £5. The stable have had a double today. The list of pluses is a pretty long one.
Yep, I think there's quite a few Markand and Haggis roll-ups, 100 to 30 here in the markets. This is Sophia Starlight, of course, who won the Great St Wilfrid Handicap at Ripon just the other day, just last weekend. Of course, we know this horse from the World Pool perspective. After an excellent run at Goodwood, she comes here in great heart, and she will be on the speed, Graham.
She is. She's very likeable. She's very enthusiastic. She takes aggressive campaigning well. She goes out quick and she keeps going. But she tends to keep going over 6 furlongs, which she did in a big-time handicap at Ripon last weekend. She has won at 7, John, as you know, but it was when she was just well ahead of the handicapper from a mark of 70. If she can get this 7 furlongs today, she is a player, but I do wonder. She has a penalty as well to contend with.
Moving down to Nigiri, for all you sushi fans out there, 18. Hector Crouch and Rafe Beckett looking for a 3-timer. 2 wins at Haydock, both, well, one on fairly soft ground, one on very soft ground, Graham.
That's worth mentioning. She's only had 5 runs, so we can't be dogmatic about her ground requirements, preferences, but no question she handled good to soft ground well at Haydock, and heavy ground well last time. Up £5 for 2 decisive wins, but she has seemed to enjoy testing conditions on her last 2 runs, and higher in the weights, yep, you would expect that. Faster ground is a little more of an unknown quantity for her.
And the times out there today are suggesting it is really quick. This is horse number 1 in shot, Far Too Shy, for the Tom Queally George Margesson combination. What a double this would be if this horse could win.
Yeah, I quite like her at a price here. Now, she has top weight. She is 5, which has not really been the requisite age bracket, but she's a smooth travelling hold-up filly. I don't think she's ever been better than she is now. She was in a competitive Yarmouth handicap as part of the league, the racing league. She cruised along. She settled it very neatly from some informed horses, and I thought the handicapper would put her up 6, maybe 7. He's put her up 4. So I have to think there's still a little bit of wriggle room in that handicap mark. She'll be ridden patiently. I hope she gets a really good gallop to run at, and I think she can run well.
Yeah, I think she will go pretty well. This is horse number 14, a little bit further down, Naomi Lapaglia, who was thought of to be good enough to run in pretty high-quality company back end of last season, and she was a winner at Newmarket last time out.
Yeah, I think we can make a notable point here. She is 2 from 4. She did win tidily at Newmarket in a handicap last time under Greg Shane, but that was a race where she was well suited by being ridden off a very strong gallop. The final furlong that day, John, was 14:47, which tells you that the leaders had gone hard and were flagging late. She took advantage, but I'm not sure the tactical nature of this race will drop quite so suitably as the last one did, and she's up in the handicap too.
Moving on to horse number 8, Royal Dress, who ran a cracker to win at Haydock on the heavy going back in July. Thought ran pretty well in the Choisia race at Goodwood, although she was towards the back of the field in a strongly run race where horses towards the back got into it. My question is her on this sort of ground, Graham.
Yeah, it's true. She's had easy ground for much of this season, but it was good to firm when she chased home a useful horse, Frankness, at Goodwood. No, I think it's a consistent run of form. Second at Goodwood, good win at Haydock, good fourth at Goodwood last time in what we were confident was a strong race, and I think it is strong form. Novus has already franked it with a win, so I have to put her in here. Royal Dress, she seems to be progressing nicely, and she's drawn 1 with Ryan Moore on board.
Speaking of horses representing good form races, Candle of Hope was 5th in the Sandringham Handicap, which has worked out incredibly well over the last few weeks. It was a little bit dull, I thought, at Goodwood last time out, but maybe the softish ground wouldn't have helped. But I do like that run where she was a big price in the Sandringham, but I think she'll go well back on better ground.
Yeah, I think you like her a little bit more than me, but she has been running pretty well, so she has a chance here. She doesn't quite squeeze into my quartet here, but she is a talented filly. This is a tough race.
In the King and Queen's colours. Right, we move to horse number 19 now. This is Coco Jambo, who has finished 3rd in each of her last 4 starts. Nothing great from a speed figure perspective either, so there's a 25-1 shot in the books here and probably a fair reflection.
I think so. I think she's a bit more exposed than some of the 3-year-olds in the race. She's had 10 runs. She's got 1 win, came at Newmarket last autumn, and third of a level, always appearing to have no excuses, and this is a harder handicap than the one she's been beaten in.
Okay, it's for Marco Botti and Andrea Azzani, the Italian partnership there. Horse number 10 is next, Eximius, a horse who will almost certainly go back. Might not be the best tactical thing to do today. Was 3rd at Wolverhampton on the all-weather last time and 15th in that Sandringham handicap prior to that.
Yeah, Connections clearly think that she needs either an artificial surface or a fast surface, because she's been a non-runner twice on softish ground, and she had every chance pretty much at Wolverhampton last time, went 3rd. Pretty good run, but this is a tough contest and she needs to just up it slightly.
Okay, we now move on to unlucky for sub number 13, Rock Melody, who was hopelessly outpaced over 5 furlongs at Ascot last time. Liked this move up in trip to the 7, but did come home eye-catchingly well. We both quite liked this horse that day, didn't we, Graham? And there's a bit of encouragement, I think, for today at a big price.
Yeah, it's a new venture for this season at least. She's had 8 or 9 runs, maybe 10 runs this season. They've all been at 5 and 6. She couldn't get competitive over 5 at Ascot, but it's Jim Goldie. He doesn't waste entries for York, and if they go really hard, she might come to call it.
Yep. The pace has been holding up well these last 2 days, but there's still been 1 or 2 that have got into place lines from a long way off the speed. This is Dubai Jamila, horse number 15, the Iron Man Neil Callan, up for Kevin Ryan. Great old combination going back years, those two, of course. This one's a big price though, Graham.
Yeah, Ryan, as we saw with Forza yesterday, he tends to wind his horses up for this meeting, but he's going to have to find a bit of magic here. A poor run first time out in the Nell Gwyn Stakes. Had a break, a few weeks off since that. Okay, 7th last time, but a bit more needed clearly, and she's been off the track since the 27th of May, so there might have been a little issue or 2.
Moving on to horse number 11 now, Cuban Breeze, another one who really does like to bowl along. This will, I'm sure, be run at a strong gallop.
And she keeps running okay, but she keeps getting beaten. She has had 54 races, so she is far from one of the unexposed horses on deck here. Her recent runs have been not good and okay last time, but this is a hard handicap, and much of her trade is plied at 5 and 6. 7 furlongs is a test for her.
Horse number 5, Espresso, is another horse that likes to go forward. She did at Goodwood last time. That didn't do her much good, but on this faster ground, she might stick around for longer.
Goodwood is a forgive for me. Yeah. She was in the heat of a very strongly run race on testing ground, and she paid the penalty. I'm going to judge her on the previous couple of runs, especially that second in an okay listed race at Pontefract, where she was right on the speed, battled unwillingly. It's the Johnson Yard who haven't been really shining at the big festivals, but this is a filly I like, and I'm hoping that she might sneak under the Whirlpool radar today.
Okay, so they're making their way down to the start. Once again, we're over the 1400 metres as we were for the previous race last on the card. Anything we haven't talked about? We really missed one that ran a good race in the last contest. International Girl going down. They haven't mentioned that one, have we, Graham?
No, International Girl seems to be back in good nick. I think she runs York pretty well.
Yeah.
Her second last time was bang-up performance on the figures. That was second at Pontefract, over 6 furlongs. All her runs have been over 6 furlongs this season, and I thought she was going to win that day, but she couldn't quite see it through. So she comes with a minor place chance. I want to touch on previous winners, John, not in terms of who they are, but how old they were at the time. Ade in Asia last year, she was on a roll, 3-year-old. Sweet Enough, 3-year-old. Amber Storm, 3-year-old. Excellent Times, 4. Crossing the Line, 3. Lincoln Rocks, 4. Opal Tiara, Mistrusting, Bragging, all 3.
Yeah.
So the younger horses, and it makes sense to a certain degree that they have fewer miles on the clock. 3-year-olds have held a whip hand here, but there are older horses here who are in really good form. So I'm not going to just jump on the stance bandwagon and mix up the 3-year-olds. I think we have Yorkshire trainer Grant Dewar.
Yeah, Mr. Sophia Starlight.
That was good last time, wasn't it? I know it was pretty recent, but she's well in.
Yes, I mean, we've also got a £6 penalty. We've gone up 6 anywhere. Sort of looks like we're a 6 furlong horse in a 7 furlong race.
I think there's a few of those in here.
I think there's some milers in there as well.
Oh, there are, yeah.
So, listen, we'll probably ride her just the same as we did Saturday. We'll jump and go forward. That seems to be her strength. So we'll just do that and see how we get on.
She's obviously come out of it fine, or you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, she's come out of it absolutely fine. So she weighed the same Tuesday morning as she did Saturday morning, so we thought we'd take our chance. Ground's obviously different, trip's different, but hopefully the result won't be.
Stall 16?
Yeah, I think that's fine. We'll jump and go forward, and we'll come down the middle of the track.
Yeah, which is here. I would just say that's no bad thing necessarily, a wide draw, because it tends to be coming down the middle far.
Yeah, it seems to be where everybody wants to be anyway, doesn't it?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yep, Grant Dewar there talking to Tom Stanley of Racing TV, and it's been a logical thing to do. Front runner, wide draw. You've just kind of got to get out quickly in the aim for the middle of the track and hope that that's the decent enough place to be. And I don't think there's a problem with any part of the track at the moment.
No, nor do I. And she's such a likeable filly. We've both had her on our radar for a little while now, and she paid off with a big win over 6. You can tell. He said that's the key line in that interview was, she's a 6 furlong filly in a 7 furlong race.
Yeah.
So the latter stages are going to be interesting. She has won a very, very, very ordinary race over 7 furlongs on a sharp track at Wetherby. Today is a big time handicap, and any lack of stamina is likely to be exposed. I don't want to knock her in any way, but I do wonder about the last 100, 150 metres. So I'm going to take a chances with a couple of prices here. 1, Far Too Shy, is a horse I think can run well. 5, Espresso, is a horse I think is a little bit underrated by the market at the moment. And nothing against Unequal Love at the top. Stable Haggis has such a sure touch at this meeting. Already 2 winners on the card. Unequal Love, you can look 2 ways, John said. She only run a 3-runner race. But it's possible that the lack of runners in that race masked what she's capable of.
Possibly, yep. Wasn't allowed to necessarily get the kind of drag into the race that she will get here. She's in my numbers as well. Unequal Love. I'm going to go with Candle of Hope on top, hoping the Sandringham form stands up to scrutiny. She'll be better on the faster service she gets here. She's a decent price as well, certainly each way play. Rock Melody might be one of those horses to get a bit far behind in the early stages, but interesting, they've gone from 5 to 7 without any designs on going to 6. Far Too Shy as well there, and Unequal Love for me, so a bit of agreement there with myself and Graham on a minor line. But I'm going to go for a royal winner here with Candle of Hope, and as I say, getting a reasonable price too. So they're down at the start. They're going to be going behind very shortly. We haven't done the old compare the market here, Graham, yet either.
Let's do that, right. Let's rectify that, John. Just give me 1 second to load up the page. It's a good race, this. It's a high quality handicap, and it's likely to be run at a solid gallop. So good luck with whatever you've played. I started today, John, thinking this is a tough day, and it's been that way. Aidan O'Brien, Warm Heart, findable, but not the main one for the stable. 40-1, the ropey guess, thwarting one of my better bets of the day. Hard luck to Point Linus. Relief Rally, she was very findable. I know you really liked her. Haggis has had 2 winners, both well back. He's really is a friend to the punters at this meeting, isn't he?
Certainly is, yeah. Might be a note to make for future York World Pool meetings. But
might be a note to make for the next 10 minutes because he's got an equal love here. So let's go down the card. Far Too Shy is 16.
10 to 1.
It's not a bad price, that. I know she doesn't fit the normal template for winners of this race, but she is in really good form, and she is a smooth traveller. I think she'll catch the eye the way she moves. Alcimo is a non-runner. Nazarka, who bombed out last time, is 43.
33 to 1.
Sophia Starlight, or Sophia Starlight, however you pronounce it, she is 9.7.
11 to 2.
Espresso, who is one of my top 3 here, is 30.
18 to 1.
Overs. Backseat has the scratch. An equal love 4.4.
7 to 2.
Bang, pretty much the same. Royal Dress 5.5, second favourite.
17 to 2.
Unders there. Candle of Hope 16.
11 to 1.
Eximus 19.
16 to 1.
Cuban Breeze 54.
33 to 1.
International Girl nicely back. Big price at 17 now.
18 to 1.
Rock Melody 37.
25s.
Naomi and well back La Paglia at 10.
8 to 1.
Dubai Jamila 30.
33 to 1.
Motus Font 46.
28s.
Peony 33.
20 to 1.
Nigiri 7.3.
9 to 2.
Coco Jambu 22.
25 to 1.
Misty Blues 49.
66 to 1. Don't think we mentioned Misty Blues actually in the parade, but actually got some pretty decent form from the back end of last year, but hasn't managed to run up to that so far in 2023.
So pace here, Espresso's uncomplicated, likely to go forward. Sophia Starlight is quick and aggressive, very likely to go forward. Any other notable front runners?
Cuban Breeze is a tear away as well, so there's 3 that are definitely going to go forward. I think Unequal Love, Candle of Hope, Nizaka, they'll just nestle in behind that pace, maybe Nigiri as well. The real hold-up horses, Royal Dress and Rock Melody, so we'll see if maybe they get a bit outpaced in the early stages, like 1 or 2 of those have been in the past, given how quickly they've been going in the early part of the races. Because as we were saying before, 1 or 2 of these races today, you've been sitting here during the race looking at the sectionals thinking these leaders are going to come back to them, and they haven't really. So let's see if that happens again here.
Yep. So keeping a close eye for the early fractions. Espresso, she's drawn quite high, but she's quick. Sophia's Delight is drawn higher, 15 and 16. So if you're looking at the bank of stalls there, the left-hand bank of stalls, 15 and 16 hold some of the pace key here, and I think they will come largely up the centre of the track. I don't think there's anything wrong with the inside, but Grant Chua had it right. I think that the main body Arrowhead will come up the middle, and good luck whatever you're playing. Espresso is a wild one for me, and Far Too Shy, it would be a cocky double for George Margison and Tom Queally to win the Clipper handicap, and then this big one. Maybe I've gone for the Margis and Queally angle one too early.
Well, we'll see. It would be a red letter day for the stable, certainly, and it would be a 440 to 1 double as well. But we will see. Last 2 or 3 going in. Back to Stuart. He's had a busy old afternoon.
Around about the last 4, I reckon. Nigiri is one of those to go. So too Sophia's Starlight, who's moving in. And I think Nigiri and Motisfont will be the last 2 to go. Right, I reckon we're just about set. They're off, jumping out over 7 furlongs this time. Sophia Starlight in a white jacket got away well. Motisfont from a high draw is running a bit of a solo at the moment, the red and green, but it's not far off them. Cuban Breeze in the red and white is also handy with the nose-bounded Dubai Jamila and Espresso in a yellow jacket. Eximius light blue up the running rail, followed by Unequal Love in the red, white and blue. Misty Blues in a pink jacket rounds out the leading half of the field, back to Nigiri Pink Cap, sitting in mid-division ahead of International Girl and Candle of Hope and Azaka in the orange silks. Further back then to the likes of Naomi La Paglia and Royal Dress. Rock Melodies towards the rear of the field with Far Too Shy and Coco Jambu, and Peony is just about last, and Sophia Starlight leads them through halfway. To Cuban Breeze in the red and white, Motisfont, the red and green Dubai Jamila in the noseband, Eximius towards the right. Extreme right, Unequal Love. Blue Cap making good headway. Followed through by Nigiri with the pink cap, and now on the extreme right of the group, Naomi La Paglia is making her her effort under pressure. Meanwhile, on the left, Nizaka, orange jacket, coming through with Candle of Hope, the scarlet sleeves, and Nizaka has swept through now to come and challenge with Nigiri, and it's Nigiri moving on from Nizaka. Naomi LaPaglia on the far side, Coco Jambu running on late, but the bird has flown. Nigiri is away and gone and wins emphatically. Very close for second between Coco Jambu and Naomi LaPaglia, followed home by Peony, and in the last 100 yards, Nizaka weakened away alongside Candle of Hope.
Yeah, wow. Nigiri has won and is absolutely hacked up here in the hands of Hector Crouch, riding for the bang-in form Rafe Beckett, hard held at the line. Has won by, what, maybe 5 or 6 lengths in the end. As a very impressive winner. Close go for second. I reckon the 19, Coco Jambo, has probably got there ahead of Naomi Lagiri on the far side, and 17 Phony has run fourth by the looks of things there, but no doubting the winner. Nigiri has won very impressively and has now strung together 3 wins on the bounce for Nigiri, who was into 7.1 on the World Pool. Some decent money for this filly, and she hasn't let her followers down.
They're off, jumping out over 7 furlongs this time. Sophia Starlight in a white jacket got away well. Mottisfont from a high draw is running a bit of a solo at the moment, the red and green, but it's not far off them. Cuban Breeze in the red and white is also handy with the nose-bounded Dubai Jamila and Espresso in a yellow jacket. Eximius light blue up the running rail, followed by Unequal Love in the red, white and blue. Misty Blues in a pink jacket rounds out the leading half of the field, back to Nigiri Pink Cap sitting in mid-division ahead of International Girl and Candle of Hope and Azaka in the orange silks. Further back then to the likes of Naomi LaPaglia and Royal Dress. Rock Melodies towards the rear of the field with Far Too Shy and Coco Jambu, and Peony is just about last, and Sophia Starlight leads them through halfway. To Cuban Breeze in the red and white, Mottisfont, the red and green Dubai Jamila in the noseband, Eximius towards the right. Extreme right, Unequal Love. Blue Cap making good headway. Followed through by Nigiri with the pink cap, and now on the extreme right of the group, Naomi LaPaglia is making her effort under pressure. Meanwhile, on the left, Nizaka, orange jacket, coming through with Candle of Hope, the scarlet sleeves, and Nizaka has swept through now to come and challenge with Nigiri, and it's Nigiri moving on from Nizaka. Naomi LaPaglia on the far side, Coco Jambu running on late, but the bird has flown. Nigiri is away and gone and wins emphatically. Very close for second between Coco Jambu.
Yeah, it's given them an absolute toweling there, that win in Nigiri. There's the photo for second. Coco Jambo getting that, the 19 and the 14, Naomi LaPaglia in third. But they were all playing for minor money. Nigiri, a very easy winner, Graham.
Yep, Rafe Beckett comes to the party with a fast improving filly. Travelled beautifully from start to finish, settled in midfield. This was a good gallop, John. The Frenchians tell you they went hard here.
They certainly did, where they were going considerably quicker than, obviously it was just a nursery beforehand over the same trip, but this really was a race where the pace did collapse a bit.
Yeah, Sophia Starlight, she's a suspect stayer at this trip. Going this hard at this trip was cruising for a bruising. The ones who kept her company didn't find a lot late on. Unequal Love in the red colours, third from right, travelled up quite nicely. I suspect she might have been a bit close to this really strong pace. Yeah. Naomi LaPaglia on the far side, she's a confirmed hold-up filly. She was definitely well suited by the way this race developed. But the final furlong, a bit like a haydock, not once but twice, she has poured on the pressure, and she might be a little bit better than a handicapper, John.
Yeah, she's now won 3 on the bounce, and she's won on a good to soft track, a heavy track, and now a fast track, so she's very versatile as well. And she's probably even better on the fast surface here as well, so there's a very good future for her in the offing, one would have thought.
Yeah, Rafe Beckett has had a brilliant summer, and a brilliant summer which could have been even better. Only just beaten with Westover in the King George, only just beaten with Blue Stocking in the Irish Oaks. This is a different type of horse, a fast improving handicapper. Tomorrow it's Highfield Princess in the Nunthorpe. It's round 3 or 4 between Coltrane and Quickthorn in the Lonsdale Cup. There could be a shower or two, if not they'll water, but it's summer ground here and you need a turn of foot.
Certainly do. See you tomorrow for day 3.
God bless.
Yes, thanks to both John and Graham. A bit more of the same coming up, but tomorrow as well for day 3. But Nigiri has won the last for Rafe Beckett and Hector Crouch, and well, she's still showing signs of inexperience. She's run around a bit in the closing stages, and on pulling up, she came close to depositing Hector on the turf. She had a little bit of a whip round and a shy at something. So plenty of improvement still to come, you would imagine. She's done this off a mark of 80. And she's fast racing towards triple figures, one would imagine, if she continues on this upward trajectory. Rafe Beckett greeting his winner. Hector Crouch jumping off. Should get more big rides for mine, Hector Crouch. I think he's a very talented jockey. And I know it's very tough, of course, but he's certainly great value, I think, when you have him on board, Hector. And he's been seen to good effect here, so well done to him. Coco Jambo has run second. Naomi LaPaglia has run third, and Phony in fourth. There's gone a good race as well. But the debrief taking place with a horse who was well fancied for this race, as I mentioned, was supported late. Naomi LaPaglia was also back late on into 8.4. I think we're going to hear from Rafe Beckett very shortly. Here he is now with Lydia.
Fashion. Her trainer is Rafe Beckett. Congratulations. That was really impressive.
Well, I didn't think it'd go like that. It didn't look like that at the top of the straight. I rang her owners early in the week and said, we could go to Kempton on Wednesday or whenever it was, or tomorrow, or go to York, and keen to, it was last night, wasn't it, at Kempton? They were keen to come here, and I wasn't sure about the ground, but she's quite a light frame filly, and I thought we'd probably be okay on it. We certainly find out no downside running for a big pot. She'll have to go into stakes races now. Maybe the Scepter Stakes at Doncaster, straight seven, straight seven's there. Maybe that. Atalanta might come a bit quick for her next week at Sandown. She's been busy. He said he was just rolling along, not going anywhere, and gave her a dig 3 down, and she came good a bit soon, he said, and that's the reality of it. But she's probably a better filly than we thought she was. She's come a long way. She bled at Chelmsford in May, so she's come a long way since then, and it's nice to have a good one for them. They've got plenty of horses with us, and it's nice to have a good one for them.
Where do you think she's thriving? At just things clicking?
Tough spring, I think. She had a tough spring. She's not much of her. Sometimes wet and cold don't always thrive. You've heard it all 1,000 times, haven't you, Lydia? So
you said it 1,000 times, probably.
Exactly.
Not just you, I'm saying. Obviously, I'm not singling you out, Rafe.
I know it's an old trotted out excuse, isn't it? But I think that's generally, when they're made that way, that shape. She's quite busy filly. She's quite hard on herself as well. All of those things. Only had one start at 2. It's kind of hard on them sometimes, and you have to take a deep breath and go again. And we luckily were able to do that. So it's been great. So I think she's probably got a better day than this in her somewhere. It looks like it, doesn't it?
It really does. She's really rolling now. What are your reflections on Blue Stocking in the Yorkshire Oaks, finishing 4th?
I thought she ran really well. It's clear to all and sundry probably now that she's more effective when there's juice in the ground. That's what the Curragh tells us. A run in the Irish Oaks. So I would say we'll program her with that in mind. It'd be nice to win a race, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
There's a lot of nice fillies behind her today, and 3 good ones in front of her. I'd like to win a race, and so, as would Judmont. So we'll see how that develops. I wouldn't rule out the fillies and mares, but I was really pleased today because she's sort of trod the line a little bit with her conditions wise and health wise. I haven't always been happy with her. When I got the saddle today after the Clipper handicap, I thought you really do look well. I'm glad we run, because I wasn't sure I was going to. So I'm glad we ran. It just wasn't our day.
Yeah, 4th in a deep Group 1, I reckon. Now there'll be days, I reckon.
I'm sure you're right.
Many congratulations, Mindiguri. Best of luck as well with Blue Stocking for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Lydia.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, tremendous stuff there from Rafe Beckett, who's trained the winner, $71.50 and 28 the place. The runner-up was number 19, Coco Jambo at $55.50. Third number 14, Naomi LaPaglia at $27.50, and fourth number 17, that was Phony. Quinella, 1,202.50. Forecast, 1,821. The TS, 18,011. The Trio, 3,141. 45, I should say. 18 and 19, QQP, 349.50. 14 and 18, 107. And 14 and 19, 222. $14,012 for the first four. Quartet, 266,748 for 18, 19, 14 and 17. High numbers there for the quartet. There is Alex Elliott representing the winning owners, Vermont. I worked with Alex Elliott many years ago at the stables of Philip Hobbs. He was pupil assistant then. He's now a very successful bloodstock agent, and there he is representing the winning owners. So